Good afternoon and welcome to, I'm still tuning on Sunday service on the vocal zone thing. Welcome to the Sunday service. I'll get rid of this vocal zone thing in a minute. I was actually tuning on a lozenge from my throat's kind of sore. But YouTube has decided there just to not bother its arse making it happen. But now it's happened. We're okay. It is 2 o'clock. It is time for the Sunday service right here on YouTube. I'm also simulcasting today on TikTok because I'm caught in a charity live stream. So we were doing a 36-hour live stream on TikTok to raise money for charity, which I'll give you the link to in a little bit. And that I was supposed to do an hour yesterday, so I did the hour. It was okay, it was fine, and all went well. But this morning I get an emergency phone call going, can you do another hour? Because someone's after stopping their live stream in the middle of it. So I'm stuck doing another hour for TikTok and live streams, which is very good. I did forget to put in the links, but I'll sort that out in a second. SD stream or links. You can find anything you find on me. You can find on streamerlinks.com/bobflavin, which is where I put absolutely everything these days, because my brain can't cope with the amount of things that I have to remember to do. Why haven't I got that share small? Yeah, there we go. Copy that. Okay, so I can put it in here into the chats. If you want to, I'm raising money at the moment for a lady called Lindsay B. And if you want to donate to the GoFundMe on that, we're trying to raise €40,000. We're currently up as far as, I'll give you the total now in a second, €28,805 that we've done over the last 7 days. I think it is now 6-7 days, something like that. And I'm after going live on multiple times, so I'm hoping you'll be able to help me with that one. And I'm just going to put the link into the chat if you want to do that. You don't have to. If you can't afford to do it, don't worry about it. It's all okay. You can support in other ways, like just sharing the link, which is also very good. It'd be really, really, really brilliant if you could just share the link out. Would do fine. Today, of course, it is grey, pissy, rainy, horrible day weather out there, but at the same time Lewis Hamilton has equaled Michael Schumacher's record for a 7th World Championship title. That's an amazing feat. Even whether you like the guy or don't like the guy, 7 times is an incredible number to reach for anybody. Now, I didn't see the race there because I was literally doing so many other things trying to get together for this, and I had a little technical hitch on this as well, so everything seems to be okay now, which is great. But it's been a tough few days for everybody on the chat. It's been a tough few days for the guys on TikTok trying to do their thing as well. So now I'm simulcasting across Twitter. If you're on TikTok and you want to join us over on YouTube, you'll find the links in my bio up there. And anyone on TikTok wants to donate to that charity thing I'm talking about, it's up in that as well. It's streamerlinks.com/bobflavin, and you will find it there as the very top of the list. But yes, Lewis Hamilton winning Formula 1, lads. What do we think of that? How do we feel about that? Does it feel like he should? Does he deserve it? He seemingly has come from nothing to be, right up there among all of the glory and rich and everybody else is out there. Other people find him very annoying. I'm not sure what side of the fence I'm actually on, but you never know. Raymond Grace asks, and he's in the chat, he was here 10 to 2 asking questions already. Have driven the Jaguar XF? Any comments? There's a review of the XF on my channel. I'm not sure how old that one is that I was driving on that one, but I have a feeling it might be a couple of years old now at this stage. Whether there's a new one out or not, this COVID thing has completely evaporated anything we can do with getting press cars. So I don't know if there's a new XF out. If there is, I haven't driven that one. Eric Watcher's in the house. Good man. Paul O'Connor's here as well. They're the generals of this group, really, seriously. All the audio seem to be going okay. We're okay. Go back to live streaming in a second. And everything's okay. We're doing alright. Just lovely. Paddy Puncharoo, that's a weird name. Hi Bob, what model Garmin do you wear for running fitness? This one, it's a Garmin 235. It's pretty old now at this stage, but it still exists on the market. You can buy it still for about €200, I'm going to say. I actually bought that second hand from a fella off of adverts. The yellow strap was gotten off of eBay. It's a direct fit. It's probably not a Garmin one, but it's a perfectly good one. And I think it cost me $3. I think it might have cost me more in postage than it did for the actual for the strap itself. I think the strap was $3, but I think it may have been $6 to get it posted to me. But brilliant. It's been a brilliant strap. But Garmin 235 is the one I've used, and I've used it for a long time. And if I'm getting another watch, if I'm going to upgrade at any point, I'll probably stick with Garmin, to be honest with you, because all of my charts, times, heart rates, VO2 maxes, all that stuff is already in the Garmin system. I don't really want to do that again. The only way I could go from Garmin to something else would be to go over to Apple, because that also records all of your stuff, because I have Apple Health, which records all that from Garmin, so I could just pick up and keep going, but you'd lose a lot of charts and graphs and all that sort of stuff on it. But it's definitely worth that. 235 is an absolutely brilliant watch, worked perfectly for me for all this time. Afternoon, Bob. Matthew Fox, good man. Matthew Fox. Kira Hennessy's here as well. Paid VRT on an imported caravan from the UK. Bloody hell, Kira, I never checked that one. I don't know. Anyone else know what do you pay VRT on an imported caravan? You definitely do on an imported motorhome, because obviously it's got an engine, but I'm not sure about the caravan. There's got to be, surely be the God or some kind of a tax. Definitely the government has not missed out on that one. I don't know what it is though. Keith Crisham. Hey Bob, thanks for the content, no problem. Can you let me know what the software you used to recover your partitioned hard drive was? Oh God, I don't know. It was a free yoke. I just downloaded it, installed it on the PC. I installed it on the Mac. It was a Mac thing. I got it off the App Store. I don't know what the name of it is though. And it just, as soon as I installed it, it seemed to sort out all my problems instantly. The drive came back up. But I have a feeling the drive was going to come back up on its own. I just have a feeling it might not have been the software, because the software didn't seem to do a whole lot. I installed it and then the drive just came on and I could copy the stuff off it. The drive is now in the bin and the software was installed on the drive, so I forget what it is now. Bob, did you know you can now stream directly from your PC to TikTok? Yeah, can you, Adam? How do you do that? I didn't know that. Do you log in a browser or something? Because if you do that, I could do this very well. Now, the problem exists of the PC and the software can only handle one camera at a time. So that camera can either go to OBS Studio, or it can go to Logitech, or it can go to Zoom, but it can't do all of them at once. It's not able to split the stream down like that. So if you're going to stream onto TikTok, I could only stream the visuals to TikTok. Whereas with two devices, but many devices, you can stream to various ones. Rose Carol Hunt is here as well. There's a few in the chat as well on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you can join me on YouTube, so you can ask questions here as well, and I will answer all of your questions on YouTube. Okay, I will get around to all of them, so you have a better chance of getting your question answered on YouTube. But if you can support from TikTok, if you click on my bio up here, you see a link to my streamerlinks.com/bobflavin, and you can catch up with me there as to what I'm doing. You can also donate to that charity link that I was giving you. Garrett Talbot is here as well. Good man, Garrett, good to have you again. Good afternoon. I have a Seat Leon 1.4 looking for a new car, thinking of an Audi A3 Saloon or Golf GTD. Essentially, you're moving from one to the other. You're not going to, it's not a dramatic difference between the three cars you just mentioned. Golf GTD is a kind of a standout one in that, because it feels a bit more lively than it. Like, it's not a Golf GTI, but it's not too unlively either. So that'd be where I would go. But if you're moving from one to the other, you're essentially moving from one car with basically the same chassis, running gearbox, engine, the whole shows underneath. You're not going to really notice the big difference between all three of those cars. I'm still sucking on this Vocal Zone thing. Have you ever tried Vocal Zones? They're really good, but they're very hard to get rid of. And don't suck one of them when you have a mask on. You know when you go into the shop and you put a mask on you start to cry because the vapors go up along by your eyes the whole time. It's crazy. Callum Fletcher, learners are waiting 9 months. Yes, they are. Everything is kind of screwed it up right now, and everybody's been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. There was a 7-month waiting list going into lockdown, the first lockdown, and that 7 months has gone out now to 9 months and longer in some cases. Some people have had their tests cancelled for, say, this month, and they're not being rebooked till next April, May, June, July, off at that direction, which means they're stuck as learner drivers in a sort of a limbo. They can't do anything. So it is getting longer and longer. There has been questions asked in the Dáil recently about it, but I don't see any answers coming forward from the Minister of Transport or the RSA, who's actually the one that's responsible for all this sort of thing. William Bellingham, hi, I hope all is doing well, Bob. Good work. Thank you very much. We will stick doing the Sunday service until lockdown ends. Then I might take a Sunday off, but I don't know. It's been growing every single week. It might not be as big this week, maybe. There seems to be a kind of a drop off in people's attention span for the internet. If you actually look at internet traffic, it dropped off this week. The whole internet, not just some of it, just all dropped off as people found, I suppose, other things to do, or TV got good or something. Or winter took effect and people need to have a little daylight in their life, and maybe that's it as well. Eric Rochard, fair play to Bob for all your efforts, help raise that money. I'm doing what I can because it's the only thing I can do. That's essentially what it is. So hit the like button anyway, and it'd be really good if you could as well. Thank you for 137 of you here that are here right now this very second, and 70 of you on TikTok as well. Bloody hell, you get around, don't you? I am streaming on YouTube. You will find a link up there to my YouTube channel if you want to. Anybody can give money to that charity, be really appreciated. It's for Lindsay B. Lindsay B has had cancer twice before. She got it for the third time. She's only a young ma'am, and I was contacted to see if I could help in some way. I started on TikTok raising money, and it was just became very. I actually twerked yesterday on TikTok as well for money, but it's fun though. Power Yapper. Hi Bob, F1 boring. Watching BTCC. God, I miss good old BTCC. Do you remember when it used to be say at Leon's? What was it before that? Vectras or something, wasn't it? Before that? I forget what the car was before the Leon. Amazing. God, BTCC was absolutely brilliant once upon a time. Back in Jason Plato days. Rubbing is racing, you know, they were all rubbing into one another. It was absolutely brilliant. Frank Metcalf is here. Frank, haven't seen your name up there on the screen in a while. You don't be asking questions no more. Where have you been? I need to know from your mammy to tell me what you're up to. Simon Wall, hi Bob, hope you're well. What's 4x4 do you recommend for 10 to 12 grand pulling a horse box? I'm not really good on prices because I don't sell cars, so I don't really know what you get for 10 or 12 grand. But for pulling horse boxes, it's more about torque figures and horsepower figures. So 4x4 wise, you can get some crew cabs. You can get like Toyota Land Cruisers. The what's the other ones? The Ford Ranger. If you can get a 3.2 version of that, they're pretty good. You know, they're good, strong cars. Now to reduce the engine sizes of most of these 4x4s down to 2 litres, it's about CO2 emission stuff. They won't be as successful pulling horse boxes, particularly double horse boxes where you got 2 horses in it. But it should still be able to pull it though, Simon and Ferris. But they're the ones I would recommend. But for 10 or 12k, I don't know what you're going to get for that. Just remember, when a 4x4 has a tow hitch on it already, you can get a stretch chassis on them, you know, because people will tow more than they're rated for, which often happens as well. So be aware, if doors don't close absolutely spot on, you could be looking at a car's been stretched out of all proportion. Tony O'Mara is here as well. Hello, Team Hope, all as well, but everyone, so far so good, Tony. Julien Deloretta, it's Frenchie from TikTok. Hey Frenchie, what's the story, man? Good to have you here. You've crossed over. You've crossed over. I don't believe it. Come on over to YouTube. There's more YouTubers over here anyway. Hunter A. Hi Bob, how are you getting on? Not bad, Hunter A. Brian, have you seen the new Hyundai Tucson yet? HEV looks nice to the front and back. It does, but Hyundai make very good looking cars. They have European designers now, of course, but they make really good looking cars. But they don't tend to drive as well as Kia, and I don't know how that works out. I don't know how they manage to do that, because the cars are essentially the same underneath. And yet I always feel better driving. I think it's the driving position. A Kia always seems to drive better than Hyundai, but it does look very, very nice. The new what's that thing that Kia's out to bring out? The big car. It's a massive yoke, and I can't think of it now. That's coming out here as well. I'm going to have that in a few weeks' time. Dylan Roach, are mirror guards illegal for tractors and trucks? What's a mirror guard? I don't know what that means. A mirror guard is like a cage around a mirror or something, is it? I have to look it up. I don't know. I know things like what do you call them things on the front of the car, the bull bars and all that stuff, they're all gone illegal now. I'm not sure about that. M-I-R-R-O-R, mirror guards, G-U-A-R-D-S. Let's see what a mirror guard looks like first. The plastic mirror guards, I wouldn't imagine they'd be illegal. No, they look just like normal plastic wraparound things. I'm sure you get them in the motor fighters. Where was I? Hi from Tala in Dublin. Mio, I can't pronounce your last name. I'll only butcher that if I try it. So hello, Mio. Logan College. This is Logan's college account. He's got a couple of burners accounts as well. Hey Bob, keeping me safe during college design and workout. That's all right. Anytime, my boy, you can stay here with us for the next couple of hours and keep your college work going. Paddy says, hi Bob, what model of Garmin fit? Yeah, I have that one. Armin, while Bob, you're watching a stream while breaking my controller over FIFA. Yeah, that's actually a good thing. You can type while playing FIFA is even better thing, in fairness to you. Well done. You remember, you only have to ask the question once, because I will read out every single question that I get on YouTube for sure. Where was I there? Paul Quinlan, what do you think of the E89 Z4 2012? Any of the Z4s are pretty cool, but no, Z4s came with some built-in problems, as did Z3s. But Z4s are super cool. But that was the Z4. Now it's not the Z4 that became the Celica. The new one is the Celica one. But that Z4 did come with some errors and problems and recalls and things that happen around it. So be careful of that. All convertibles, if you're buying a convertible, are going to leak. Just assume that'll happen, and then you won't be disappointed when it does. It's just the way that they're all built kind of the same. So you'll get that same problems with it the whole time. But they're a great car to drive. They've got a good pendulum effect on the back, so they will drift. You shouldn't drift them, but they will drift for sure. A lot of them get converted into drift cars as well, or race cars along the way. So a brilliant car, absolutely brilliant. If you can get a bargain on one, sure. But just picked up cheap. Make sure all the recall stuff is done on them, that there's no outstanding recall stuff. Get an error code reader. Get something like the yoke that I use, the fix-it thing that I use like this. Get some sort of reader thing just to check the error codes on it. If you want that one, it's in the comments down below if you're looking for a reader. But it doesn't have to be that one. Just get something that you can check the error codes on the car that is not outstanding any sort of recall stuff or no problem has come up on it, and it should be okay. M2SR So. Hi Bob, doing around 1,800 kilometers a month. Whoa! What do you think of a Skoda G-Tech natural gas version? Have you tried them? No, I haven't. I haven't tried any. Natural gas really hasn't picked up here. LPG is another one that hasn't picked up here in a big way. It might come later on, but it's a Skoda G-Tech. Is that meant to be a Skoda? Just wondering now. I'm just going to check because it's an international audience in case it's something that hasn't come up. No, it's definitely Skoda, right? Yeah. The driving senses is called, but yeah, no, I haven't tried the natural gas versions of it, so I don't know what kind of fuel economy you're going to get out of it. But I know that natural gas thing is a lot cheaper in Europe to buy at the pumps than it would be for petrol or diesel. So I would normally push you towards the diesel thing because it's 1,800 kilometers a month. But if you can make the prices work, I mean, you're basing this on price. If you can make the prices work, you're okay, you know. Keith Ruddy, there's the big man. Hope you're well, bud. I'm alright, Keith, thank you. Danny O'Connor, well, Bob, I hope you are as well, Keith. Just thought I'd mention that, just see if you're okay. We're all okay together, you know. Danny O'Connor, well, Bob, what's the opinion on Mark 5 1.9 Jetta for first time driver? That goes up a lot, actually. Mark 5, they must be getting cheap. Jettas are okay. It's a Golf with a boot. Essentially what the parts bin inside is basically a Golf with a boot, so you should be okay with that one, because they generally work out. And most of the time Golfs are seen as quite reliable cars, are quite good, they're easy enough cars to fix. So are Jettas, very easy cars to fix, so you should have no problem with that. I just had to give a little thanks there because Shaza Orr, who I know I got a DM from a second ago, I think it popped up on the screen here a minute ago, anyway, has donated €100 into our Curing Lindsay B drive at the moment. So I will read out your name if you donate while we're live on air. I will read out your name if it comes up on the screen for me. Thank you very much for donating. But if you want the Bluetooth code reader, that's in the comments down below, because I know people will start asking about that in a couple of minutes. It is there and it's $20, that fixed thing, and people are buying it for Christmas presents. I got a message from a guy the other day, said I bought 5 of them for Christmas presents. They're all going into the socks. Where was I next now? Dermot Waters. Hi, car style climax with the Fiat Multipla. Not far off. That's as stylish as it's going to get. Well, you know, there was a couple after that that were a bit disastrous as well. But I love the Multipla. I did the Multipla. I know it's not pretty looking on the outside, but it's got 6 seats and you can have 3 people in the front. In the front seat. If you've never sat in the car with 3 people in the front seat, you haven't lived. It's the weirdest experience. Americans don't care because they've been doing it for years. The bench seat, you know, sliding a lady across the middle of the seat and having her sitting, you know, on your shoulder. That was a normal thing to do back in the 50s. We only started doing that in the 80s and 90s, mostly because of 3-point seatbelts. There's Chef Paul 89. Chef Paul is there and there because I've seen your name in both places, Chef Paul. This is like the Matrix, lads. So like there are multiple screens, and I'm on 3 of them because I monitor over here and I monitor over there, and I have the TikTok here as well. Amarin says, Bob, opinion on the new S-Class. Not 10 years ahead anymore, is it? It used to be the S-Class. You used to see tech come on the S-Class. It would be 10 years before it filtered down to your standard car, but now it's actually got some of the features that every car has already got. So I don't know. I don't know what the life is to S-Class. I think it needs to go off to where it always used to be. So the S-Class used to be a limousine. You know, it was that end of the market that rich people bought a 7 Series and S-Class, or now the A8. A8 was for young kind of yuppie types, and then S-Class and 7 Series was more for celebrity star things. And then all of a sudden, a chief executive started buying S-Classes, and that changed its life forever, pretty much. But it looks kind of cool, but I don't know why they didn't go the whole hog, go full automated driving like Tesla has done. Whether that becomes a thing for them or not, I don't know. Miho says, what would cause black smoke over 2,000 revs, an Audi A6 2005 diesel? Just coking. Essentially, the internals of the engine starting to overheat on you, starting to burn the oil on the inside. And so when you get over 2,000 RPM, it's starting to blow it out through the exhaust, because fumes oil, anything the engine produces inside has only one way out. It either comes off through the bottom of the car or it's coming out through the exhaust. So anything that's happening coming out through the exhaust has happened inside the engine cylinders. You could strip it down. You could get rid of the caulking off the engines. You could change the glow plugs, change the air filters, change the pollen filters, change all the filters in it as well. It might help it, but it probably won't. Once it starts to burn oil, which is essentially what it's doing, it's starting to die. Essentially, you're going to have to get something done with it at some point. But it'll probably keep going for years. Yeah, it'll just start failing. NCTs is the biggest problem. When I hear your voice, oh my God. I don't know. I need an administrator on the Bob Flavin official account. Anyone who wants to put their hand up for another a moderator on the Bob Flavin account, you can. Come on over. What's the next bit here? Jerry C. Dublin says, hi Bob, what's better to do? Wait till January to buy a car or get a deal from a dealer for a cash buyer 2017 Octavia Superb? If you can get a deal, you see, cash buyer it doesn't really matter to dealers whether you're a cash buyer or not. That's not a factor for car dealerships. Car dealerships would rather that you bought a car and traded in something, because then it can make money out of you a second time. So that you trade in the car and they can sell the trade in as well as sell you a new car. So being a straight up cash buyer, often that doesn't particularly work out for dealerships. So it doesn't really get you a better deal, Jerry, essentially, by buying for cash. But if you can get a deal out of a dealership, if they want to get their numbers up on used cars coming into December, for sure, if they want to get rid of some stuff, because they're going to get a flood of used cars in January as they start delivering the brand new cars. And so they'll probably want to clear off what they've got on the lot already. So you probably get your best deal in December for a second-hand car, even with your cash buyer trade-in. You probably get lesser of a deal in January. Then you start to get better deals again in February, March, as the forecourt's full and they really want to start shifting some cars out. You'll get a better deal around there. But I would buy now for an Octavia or Superb 2017. I would buy pretty much now to December and start looking around the price of it, because the price will be more favourable. They want to get rid of it very quick. Popular cars though, so be aware of that. You won't get much of a deal off them. Emlyn Hughes, hi Bob, are modern Renaults reliable? Yeah, looking at McGann's 2018 DCI. DCI engine's been around forever. If it wasn't reliable, it would be gone. I would beware of a car company when they stop producing an engine in favour of another engine, because there's something wrong with that first engine. More than likely, most car companies evolve an engine to continue going. So the DCI engine's been around, I don't know how long really. It's 1.5 DCI came out at least 12 or 15 years ago. And they're still using it now, although it's called a 1.6 DCI now. They reboard the same engine for the same thing. It's noisy, but it's very reliable. You shouldn't have any problems with it with McGann 2018. And much of a muchness, French cars tend to have some electrical issues, much like the Peugeot I have currently, which the left window just randomly opens whenever it feels like it, and sometimes lights just come on in the car without actually asking to do it. I don't mean automated lights, I mean lights inside the car. So there's some electrical issues you might get, but other than that, most of those cars are actually 100%. Where are we? Ryan O'Riordan selling the yellow hearts. I don't normally see yellow hearts unless I'm looking at this this thing, the TikTok few that are in there. Camille says, hi Bob, my GTD is struggling to start when it's parked for over the day. I think it's the battery, or it could be something else. Well, if it was the battery, right, so there's a very distinctive noise for the battery failing. So essentially when you turn the car engine on, the car will go and then it will get slower and slower and slower and slower and slower as the battery runs out of power. That's essentially what's happening with the battery part. If it's continually trying, so if it's constantly going and it's not getting ignition, so you're not getting the explosions inside it, then it's probably your spark plugs or your HT leads. So the leads that are coming off spark plugs, one of them is faulty. But generally speaking, if it's the battery thing, it's pretty obvious because the car just sounds tired. It just sounds like it's not going to try today. The fast fix for that is to hook up somebody else's battery to your car, or go down to motor manufacturers and hook it up to a proper battery tester and just test the battery and see if it's actually the problem. And you'll know quick enough when you put a new battery in. But a new battery is not exactly cheap. Batteries can be 70 to 120 quid, so they're not exactly the cheapest thing to throw in. If it's a HT lead, it'd be quicker to change that, or a set of spark plugs. 20 to 40 quid will change spark plugs out. Or sorry, your GTD, so it's diesel, so glow plugs. But struggling when it's parked for over the day would suggest to me it's the battery, probably. But batteries are expensive. But stick a different battery in, turn it over. If it starts first time, it's the battery. Abba Dabba Jabba, that is a good username, I have to say. Hi Bob, amazing video. No problem. smashing today. Thanks. Do you think the Formentor is the best crossover in 300 horsepower class? All things interior, exterior considered. How do you like the Mac color you drove? I think it's a lovely car, really nice car, but it has got some built-in problems. What I wanted from Cupra was something mental. I mean, just mental. That's what they needed to do, was something out of this world. And they went with a kind of soft off-roader. And I'm not sure why they did that. Why they wouldn't go with taking a Leon and turn it into a Mad Yoke, you know, just crazy estate thing. I'm not sure why they went. Anyway, maybe it's just because the market's going that direction. But yeah, it was pretty good. 300 horsepower is nice. I did like the Cupra Ateca better, just because it made better noises and just did all stuff nicer. And I love the interior. It's really nice. It's like a gamer. It's like a video gamer's wet dream is what the interior of those Cupras look like. It really is. It looks great. So many questions already. Thank you very much for everybody joining me from the questions. Don't forget to hit the subscribe while you're here, please. I'd love to grow the subscribers a bit more. There's also a list of links down below you can support the channel with, including just buying one of those fixed things. Also supports the channel in a handy way, and you end up with some Christmas present. Well, it really does work, that fixture, by the way. And it's €20, or $20. So it's not even €20, €14, something like that, and 14 for delivery. So you want to buy that, it's good. If you can support the charity drive I'm doing today, you will see the link in the comments here on YouTube, or over here on TikTok. You will see it in the bobflavin official thing up there at the top. Go over as far as the fundraiser for Lindsay Bennett, or Lindsay B as we've been calling her, and donate anything you can. It'd be brilliant if you could. If you can't, then just share the link. That's it. Just get as many people as you can to see that link, and then we'll see if we can get people to do it for it, because it'd be great. It'd be brilliant to have the 40 grand. Where are we now anyway? We're at €28,905, so it's brilliant. A shot forward there, and I missed where I left off. I'll catch up in a second. Hold on. Amazing video interior. There we are. Right, Knight Smith says, good afternoon, Bob. Volvo T5S were good. You are good, yeah. Volvo T5s are lovely, Oaks. Really nice to drive. Volvos are really expensive for parts. Just a warning on that one. I've had a couple of people say to me about the price of changing an LED rear light on a Volvo XC90 being €700 for a lamp, like for one lamp. Because LEDs can't be changed out. It's not like a bulb where they have a stop and tail, or bulb 301 or 305 or any of those bulbs. It is changed the whole lamp out. So they're a bit expensive on parts, but they're a lovely car to drive. Nudge nudge, wink wink. What are you using him? Hi Bob. New MG ZS electric and sale in the UK, £18,950, €21,126. Is that cheap or what? It's very cheap. I doubt it's going to be that here in Ireland though. But it is very cheap for the size of the car. Now, I don't know the build quality, the stuff behind the MG, so I'm not going to say that they're great. But electric cars to me are like, how would I explain this? Like commuter cars, you know, a thing you would use to drive to work and back. Not a thing you would enjoy driving to work, or a thing you would buy to have fun down a back road, or, you know, really have that air in your hair sort of down to the beach one weekend. It's not really that kind of car. I see them more as sort of the replacement for like a Toyota Avensis, you know what I mean? A sort of a standard normal family car is what electric cars are. So I don't really have much expectations when it comes to the MG ZS as being a cool car to drive all the time. But at the same time, for that money, for $18,950, that's a pretty reasonably priced car. Callum Fletcher says, I'm booked in to get my learner's permit at the start of December. Good luck with that one. At the end of the lockdown. How long do you reckon you went and do my proper test? I would say late into next year, middle of next year, unless the RSA suddenly come running out with the right thing to say. And the right thing that the RSA could do right now is to increase the amount of testers. And I mean double the amount of testers, or double the amount of tests. Really, we have to do something, because the queue has become so long now that it's just unfair on everybody to let it drag out any further. I think a year's contract and double the amount of testers overnight, and you'd be fine. 12-month contract on those testers. So you go back down to the normal level later on, but just for a year, you got tons of people in doing it, you know. If you're on TikTok, you can join me on YouTube, by the way. It's just, link is up here. And you can also support my charity drive as well, which is also up there if you want to do that. Loads of people in the comments on TikTok if you want them to help you out. Don't have our administrators in today, our moderators in today, but we do have plenty of other people trying to help you there. Where was I? Nile Power, Matchbox. That's okay. Mick Daly, glad to see you weren't washed away in a recent rain. It's been heavy, hasn't it? Yeah. The other night, I actually let the cat stay in all night the other night because it was raining so heavy. The poor cat, I wouldn't put her out. I normally put her out every night. She goes out and kills mice every single morning. We get up and there's a mouse dead at the back door. Or, worse still, she's at the back door with her face up against the glass and the mouse is dead sliding up down the glass. They're cruel. Cats are cruel, boys. But they keep it all quiet out there. Callum Weir. Hi Bob, what do you make of the all but confirmed announcement that diesel and petrol cars will be banned by 2030 in the UK, plug-in hybrids followed by 2035? Lads, that's a tough call. It's probably the weirdest call that's ever come out, really, because what's essentially happening is they're making a decision without actually having all the facts yet. Can everybody afford an electric car? Does everybody want an electric car? Does people don't want? Now I do see plug-in hybrids as a bit of a problem because there's a mild hybrid, there's a plug-in hybrid, there's all these other hybrids, and like the Peugeot I have currently is a plug-in hybrid, only has a range of 20 kilometers on electricity, which means you're just plugging it in every day. Like even driving the kids to school and going to Tesco's and coming back here, essentially half a tank has gone over already, you know. Whether it's going to actually happen or not, I'm not sure about that. That's the problem. The UK market is a very, very big market, and I mean a very big market for cars. So banning all of the fuels that has made that a big market is going to be a big problem for that market, in that there isn't enough electric cars to replace it. Ireland is different. Ireland is 0.01% of the European market. So we're tiny. We wouldn't sell as many cars here as a big dealership would in Manchester. But that doesn't mean we want to go that direction either, because we still don't have direct replacements for all of these cars. And I think there's a huge rush on in the view that electric cars are going to solve all of our problems overnight, and that's because the advice is being told to politicians out there is ignoring a lot of the factual stuff behind it. Yeah, we can change over in a smaller, slower, gentler way, and it'll make sense over time. Okay, so Chef Paul says, because of you I started running again for my sanity. Good for you, Paul. It was a video response from you on TikTok to spark me to go back running, so I want to say thanks. No problem at all. I'm glad to have you. Running is a very important thing. I do it most days, not today, it's a bit miserable today, but most days I'll do some sort of exercise or other, and it really does release endorphins in your body to make you feel better, especially during this kind of lockdown time where it's all very grey and you don't get much daylight and you don't get out much, and when you do go out you got big jackets and hats and things on and try and keep it. Running kind of changed all that, so I'm glad to be back on running. I can't wait to get back and actually do a race of some sort. I'm not going to win anything, but it'd be nice to get back to actually take part in a group thing, something where there's more than one person at it would be really nice. That'd be kind of cool. If you're on TikTok, or if you're even here, you can support. Go over to streamerlinks.com/bobflavin. You can support my charity drivers up there in the top corner on TikTok. Or you can go over to streamerlinks.com, do all kinds of things from there. There's all kinds of links and stuff, including the Sunday Service Facebook page. You want to join us there, you can do that too. What do you think of Kias, Bob? They're grand. Which Kia though, Killian? I'm not sure which one. Kias are okay. 7-year warranty, restricted to 100,000 kilometers. Or Sorento you have there. Yeah, they're okay. Never really fitted into the Irish market. They never really pushed it very hard here. So it was all about the Sportage here rather than Sorento. So there's a little bit less emphasis on the Sorento, but I actually kind of like it. It's a big car. You get a lot of value in that car as well. The newer one is coming, the biggest one, which is on the way. I think I'll have that sometime in December, January. I'm not sure. Tony O'Mara, there's a left field question for you. I do about 14 to 16 miles a day walking at work. What hiking boots would you recommend? What kind of walking do you do? I just bought really cheap ones, so I'm not really good at the hiking stuff. I mean, the gear, I only see hiking gear as being a means to get filthy, dirty and broke and just wear them out. So I don't really spend a lot of money on the boot part. You would want to, because you're walking a bit further than I would. In fairness, I do off-road maybe once a week. But I think I bought mine in Sports Direct up to town. They were just a generic kind of one. Really comfortable now, but I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money on them, to be honest with you, because you just get them banjacks. But you might want to spend a bit of money on them, Tony, because you're going to be using them all of the time. If you're joining on TikTok, you can actually join over on YouTube as well. You can do both if you want. Some people are on both streams at the same time. Would you believe? I'm answering questions about 2:15, so about 15 minutes behind you. I'm trying to keep up with you today. It's hard most days to keep up with you, but today I'm trying to keep up. Colin Kieran's, Bob, got the handbrake fixed in my Mark 3 Leon, was just loose cable after all. See, told you. Knew we could sort it out for you. Loose cable is nothing like it. Old-fashioned handbrakes are disappearing. Have you noticed that? It's all gone electronic these days. It's all gone little click switches things, which is essentially old-fashioned handbrakes but just no handle on it. Because if you, like, I got in behind lads after the valeters once they clean the cars, you jump in, you can't get the handbrake off because they've put it on so hard, like as far up as they possibly can, that you can't pull it up far enough to release the button at the top. So they're getting rid of them in that respect, trying to stop you getting stuck in the car. Killian Burns says, hi Bob, I'm Killian Burns from Kilkenny and I'm just wondering if I could help out Lindsay, so I don't have enough followers on TikTok, so if I raise money on YouTube would it be okay? You can raise money any way you want and donate it whatever way you want into that fundraiser thing, Killian. We'd very much appreciate reaching over to €40,000. We're at just a shade under €29,000 now, so we'd love to get it over to 40,000. If you can do that, Killian, it's fine. Just submit it into the fundraiser. Get in touch with Rose on TikTok. You'll find Rose Carol Hunt on TikTok. Get in touch with her. She's the organizer behind most of this sort of stuff. She's the one ringing me about 5 minutes before I go live going, can you go live as well? So yeah, it's a fun couple of weeks. Not fun for Lindsay, but it's fun. Oh, hey, Amy Elliott has joined us. Thank God Amy Elliott has come to solve our problems here. So many people on the live everywhere. Thank you, Amy. My moderator is in on TikTok. Amy never gets a break whatsoever. I'll pay you double this week, Amy, for sure. Where were we? Frank Metcalf. How do you rate the new Tucson? My wife is looking at one Tuesday after trading in her 181 on my PCP. Which one on PCP? Tucson. Hyundai Tucson. They're very good. They're very pretty cars, Frank, for sure. The Tucson is very nice. And they had a 5-year warranty with them as new, and that was unlimited, which is probably the better of the two warranties that come out of Hyundai Kia. Because Kia has a 7-year warranty, but it's limited to 150,000 kilometers. I kind of like the Tucson. I think it's one of those fair cars. Never really does anything wrong. Never really does everything right. It's just a nice looking car, yeah, for sure. PCP is PCP. So if you can get 0% finance on PCP, you're fine. Don't worry about it. They're always the one to go for. But it's the interest rate is the negotiation part. That's the most important part. There's Colin Whelan in the chat giving us a super chat. Super chat. It sounds deadly. Thank you very much, Colin, for that. I think that looks like a Mr. Pooh head or something. What kind of sticker is that? Oh, I keep it up. Oh no, I thought you had to buy me a poo. Hopefully that worked out. James Wilson. Hi Bob. John Cadogan on his channel pointed out there's no need for long range in EV for second car, as average daily car only 38 kilometers. Cheaper, smaller battery would do. I've been pointing out that for the last 7 years and no one's paid any attention to me whatsoever. So I'm telling you, there's no need for long range EVs. When Renault launched their EV range, which was called the Fluence something EV, whatever that Fluence was originally, when they launched that first, a fella called Eric Basse was the managing director here in Ireland. He stood up on the stage and he said that the average commute of a European was 30 kilometres, and that was 30 kilometres. That was it. So everybody straight away was saying 30 kilometres is all you need, really. And so a range of small, short-range cars actually came out at that point. So the Nissan Leaf was launched, but we also had the Citroen. There was a little Citroen they had. There was a little Peugeot they had. There was little small cars that were coming out. They were absolutely perfect for what we wanted, but nobody bought them. Nobody's going to spend that kind of money. Like a Twizy. Nobody wanted to buy it. Everybody wanted one, but nobody wanted to pay the money to actually have one. So to all intents and purposes, what you're talking about is exactly what people want, but nobody's buying them. And the same for electric cars in general. Electric car sales have gone up for sure, but it still only makes about 1% of the entire car market worldwide. It's a little over 1% these days. So it's still a tiny drop in the ocean. We have a lot of education stuff to do, but I think forcing people to rush into it is actually going to backfire in the long run. I think people are going to get quite a shock when they get them first. I've had so many conversations with people over the last couple of months where people have said they want to get an electric car, and when you ask them what their mileage is, it just doesn't suit an electric car. They don't have a home charger, done no homework on it, but they've been told that it's a good thing for them to do, and they're buying a car that's just totally unsuitable for their needs. You know, they're buying some short range or some long range one, or a massive Tesla, and spending 70-80 grand on a car when they could easily be driving a little tiny 1 litre petrol because they do no mileage, which sounds, in one way or the other, it sounds okay, but there's something for everybody out there. But it's a difficult place for us to be making decisions on right now, because everybody's different. Everybody wants a choice, and we don't really have a lot of choice in the market still. I'd still wait till the middle of next year before I jump into electric cars to buy one outright, because I think the price of electric cars are going to go down in January when it comes to change the VRT, battery technologies, lots of stuff going on in that range right now that's going to change how everything feels. Where are we next? Mumin says, Bob, should we be treating the leather more frequently on our car steering wheels due to all the hand sanitizer use? Well, yeah, hand sanitizer, by the time you've wiped it into your hands and put it onto your steering wheel, there wouldn't be much. It evaporates off very quickly. But yeah, you should, if it's a proper leather steering wheel and gear knob, that sort of stuff, yeah, you should be treating it with your leather cleansers and stuff to make sure it stays lubricated, because hand sanitizer is a very drying effect. It would be very drying effect on your hands as well, by the way, so you use hand cream and that. But yeah, you will find that you need to lubricate some more stuff. Actually, Amy Elliott's in my chat. Amy, you're in 2 places at once. I don't know how you do this. You're just everywhere. You're brilliant. Thank you very much, Amy, for being in 1 place at once. You could administrator of this chat as well. Ryan McAllister, mad the amount of difference in insurance in the south compared to the north. I know, yeah, and it's a gas that we don't even have a physical border, and we have 2 completely different insurance systems on both islands. It just seems to be working out that way, and yet we don't seem to bring it in. We don't seem to do anything with it. In Ireland, we don't seem to look at the north of Ireland and go, well, what's good in their insurance companies? Sean Tully, well, Bob, looking at a 1.6 Golf TDI for a first car, high insurance quotes, but it'd be cheaper to run than a petrol, as my apprenticeship is in Dublin City and I live in Meath. Do you have any tip? You're dead right. It's definitely going to be cheaper. 1.6 TDI, I suppose, is about as high of an engine as you're going to be able to go on your first insurance. Even your second year of insurance is probably going to be as high as you're going to get. But if you buy a petrol, you're just going to be putting petrol in it all the time. You're going to be loading it the whole time. So you're better off to go for the diesel one. Get as many quotes as you possibly can. Your mileage is going to be high, so bear in mind when you tell them how many miles you want to do per week, they probably freak out because it seems like a lot. That happens a lot too. Don't forget you can support the channel, and many links down below if you want to support the channel in some way or another, including buy one of the fixed jokes, these things, in case you haven't seen one of them before. It's an OBD2 reader that can read the error codes on your car, essentially, and puts it in Bluetooth. No subscription required. It's about €14 or $20 from the link down below if you want to support the channel. That's one way of doing it, because I get a cut out of that, and it's quite a nice little cut too. Stuart Kerr, hi Bob, what's your opinion on the MG ZS EV? That's the second one to come up today. It seems okay, it looks good. Without driving it, I wouldn't make a jump comment on it. See what kind of mileage it does and what kind of the charging options that are on it, and whether it's going to work that way or not. It's hard to predict what way these things are going to land, particularly when EVs, the range drops over time. So sometimes you have to wait to see what way that settles out, because some cars seem to drop dramatically over time and other cars don't seem to drop a whole lot at all. Like Tesla doesn't seem to drop a whole lot, and they'd be quite active on that one. Whereas, I don't want to mention particular names, but there are brands of cars out there that lose a lot of their mileage in their first year. Logan Colley says, hey, this isn't a burner account. Yellow Sheep Designs on TikTok. Yellow Sheep Designs, I think I've seen you somewhere before. If you really want a question answered, you need to come over as far as YouTube, because that's where I try to answer all the questions for all the buyers in the house. I have to go back up again. I just shot forward on me the second time. There we are. Right, okay. Ryan O'Riordan is here as well. Thanks, Ryan. Tom Lawless, hi Bob, this is Huffman09. Okay, my DOE is pushed out to March 2021. It'll still stand from the time that you get it, and you can still continue to drive. So while we're in lockdown, there's nothing it's out of your control, so you can continue to drive where you were before. It's not going to affect your insurance or tax or anything else while we're in this lockdown. Even after, it's the best you're going to be able to do is get your next appointment. So they're kind of ignoring DOEs and NCTs as long as we're within that 12-month period. Like if your NCT was out 2 years ago or DOE was out 2 years ago, I wouldn't chance it. Amarin, thanks Bob, my father's getting it and also has a Range Rover Sport from 2018. I think it's good. See a lot of people talk about bad Range Rovers. Range Rovers and Land Rovers make some of the best cars in the world, but when they go wrong, and sometimes they go wrong a lot, they get really expensive really fast. Even servicing a Range Rover is expensive in comparison to a lot of other cars. So it's the ancillary stuff of Range Rover. The cars are great, but even tires can be really expensive on a Range Rover. Eugene Hogan, crack in the air intake pipe will cause black smoke. That's true as well. Yeah, that's true as well. There you go. That's another black smoke effort coming out the back, a crack in the air intake pipe. Sean Kyo, best reliable small vans, Kangoo, Berlingo, Caddy. Well, the Kangoo and the Berlingo are essentially the same cars underneath. In some way or another, they're related stuff. Toyota also work with other companies to make their vans. I know it's not the greatest way of going about it, but I tend to push people towards the herd. So the better selling ones will be Kangoo, Caddy, Transit. They'll be the three that'll be in there that would sell all the time. The ones that are best looked after, the ones that look the best when they're wrapped up and stuff and make them look nice, is Caddy. Really, when you're buying a van, what you really want to do is to make sure the van is running every day and it's able to carry everything you want. I've seen people, tons of people, buy vans and then you see them go down the road and the arse is dragging along the road when they're driving because they're putting so much stuff in it. It wasn't suitable, it's not the right van for them. So what you want is something totally reliable, something that I can actually do the job and will never stop on a daily basis. That's the most important part of vans. So choose wisely and carefully. My favourite is Caddy. I just kind of like Caddy. I just do. And Transporters, another one. They're so comfortable. I don't know what it is about them. Just really comfortable. Kangoo is also a really good one. Miho says, I do admin on your accounts, not a problem at all, and no cost. That's okay. There wouldn't want to be a cost. There's no cost anywhere else. Flavanite Disciple, good afternoon, everybody. Good man, Flavanite. So good to have you here. Nile Power, how would you go about getting a musical horn for my car? I know they're illegal, but I see a few people in General Lee horns. You get them at Motor Factors. We used to sell them in our Motor Factors. I don't think they're illegal. I think the volume of them might be illegal, but I'm not sure. You could have two of them. Like you could have a double horn. That sounds really wrong, but you can have a double horn for sure. You have the normal one that goes beep beep, but you have another button somewhere else that goes da 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 da. Definitely get them online for sure. Wizard on. Hi Bobby, what's the story with diesel cars in Ireland? Is diesel around for years to come? Will the government eventually make it harder to own one? Is there car tax increase in 2021 on all diesels? So 2021 has changed the carbon tax, which essentially is a tax on cars anyway, right? So that's what carbon tax is going to be. So that's going to change the price of petrol and diesel at the pumps. But it also changes any car price from like 2008. If you go over as far as our Sunday Service Facebook page, there was a lot of working out that was going on, which was really funny. Like we had to come up with algorithms and stuff, or not algorithms, what do you call it? Algebra. To try and figure out what exactly was going on in the next budget. It seems to be going up, but nobody's quite sure exactly what that means as to how much every car. Some cars are coming down, so some electric cars are coming down, but also in the same breath some electric cars are going up. It just depends which one it is, because VRT is changing. So it's kind of crazy. But diesel here in Ireland is dropped. Diesel sales have dropped considerably as people shift towards kind of petrol, PHEV and electric. So it is dropping down a little bit, but diesel cars do better. People are used to diesel here. They've been around for a long time, and I don't know if it'll be around forever. They want to get rid of it by 2030, same as the UK does, but there's a lot of resistance from certain individuals, as there will always be resistance from people from somewhere. So I'm not surprised there's resistance from somewhere. I'm still doing part of a 36-hour live stream on TikTok, which someone's going to take over from me eventually in the next hour or so. So I'm still on TikTok doing the live stream, which is my second hour of the 36 hours. But it's great. But it's all in aid of a charity, which is for Lindsay Bennett, Curing Lindsay B, which is it's linked in my bio on TikTok, and it's also linked in the comments here on YouTube. If you can give any money towards that, it'd be brilliant. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just share the link out. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Colin Whelan, I had a Clio 1500 DCI van. That was a great old van. Is that van car thing coming back, like making a return? Because I've seen a few of these starting to appear out. Like people want to have a golf van and that sort of stuff, you know. Jason Cave, that A6 is probably pre-DPF, so will smoke. Check the turbo and the pipework. Could be try walnut blasting. I've seen that actually one on there's a YouTube video, and it's quite a peaceful video to watch the guy do walnut blasting through the cylinders. It's amazing looking. Get the EGR off and cleaned and make sure it's correct oil and correct serving as well. Jason Cave knows what he's doing, must be a mechanic. Sounds like a mechanic. Killian Lawton, hey Bob, I've heard you talk about a new Kia Sorento, savage car, top class. I have one, 2.2 litre diesel, lots of good features. You see, there you go. I've driven an automatic and a manual one. I thought I'd like the automatic one, funny enough, but I'm desperately lazy when it comes to driving cars. I like just go. I don't really want to change gears unless it's a quick car. Paul Todd. Hi Bob, love your knowledge. Thanks. I do too. I grew inside my brain on my own. Have you always worked in the motor industry? No, not always. I'd say your family love to get opinion when looking at cars to buy. Not really, no. My brother was the only one. One of my brothers was the only one ever asked me what car they should buy. The rest of them just do their own thing because, you know, that's the way brothers are. They just kind of go, well, I know everything. The younger brother couldn't know anything. But very few of them actually buy new cars. So that would be the other part of that. My brothers would be very repair-friendly type people. They like to keep things on the road forever and fixing yokes and doing stuff because they've all raised the same way I am, which is trying to keep the thing for as long as you possibly can. You know, forever, try and keep it on the road forever, which is all part of it. But I haven't worked in the motor industry forever, no. I've been in the army, not for very long. I'm not an army person really. My family was for years and years and years. But I've worked in the bathroom industry. I used to be a purchase manager. But yeah, I've worked in motor factories, I've worked in garages, I've worked in dealerships, I've worked in all kinds of places within the car industry. And for the last 11 years, I've been doing this. So yeah, it's been mostly car industry related at some point or another. Dare Connolly, how's it going, Bob? I'm okay. How are you? I've a 2008 2-litre diesel Mazda 6 DPF blocked, and she's in limp mode. Been quoted almost $2,000. Oh my god! Yeah, well that's the problem. You see, the early DPFs could block if they weren't used properly, and there's no good way of fixing it other than like a harsh drive. But once it goes into limp mode, it won't do that either. There's no look. The only thing you do is just gut it yourself, like take it off completely. A lot of, now this is not, you're not going to pass NCTs when you do this, but you can remove a DPF, gut the inside and put it back on as if it's there. So that's possible. Whether it's legal or not is a whole other argument, but it's the only way you're going to get around that without having to pay for a new DPF entirely. There is some reconditioning crowds, but the older the car is, the harder that reconditioning thing becomes. Kyo's Carva, any word on the merchandise yet, Bob? It is up and running. I'll have a Captain Stupid Bollocks t-shirt next week, I hope, and we'll have another couple of t-shirts and bits of stuff up as well. But it's kind of slowed down because of social distancing, and the group I'm working with here in Ireland, well, holidays have come up and they're in the middle of their holidays now, so it'll get there. We'll get it up and running very soon. Dan the Boss, hi Bob, I'm thinking of getting a 2018 Ford Fiesta 1 litre 100 PS. Thoughts? If that is 2018, that's the EcoBoost engine, and I'm very nervous to recommend EcoBoost engine. There's a lot going on with EcoBoost 1 litre at the moment. Recalls, reconditioning, people complaining about them being broken. There's a lot of talk online. Just look up 1 litre EcoBoost problems in Google and you'll see what I'm talking about. It just seems to be across the board. The little turbo that spins at 250,000 RPM. That's fast. For any turbo, that's very fast. But for a little tiny 1 litre car, that's really fast. So I don't know. It'll be good, but I'm just not sure whether it'll work out for you or not. But if you're not going to keep a car for very long, then it should be fine. Alistair Robbins is just popping in for the first time on a Sunday. Good man. That's good for you. Just stick with us. Hit the subscribe button. Tom Lawless has me live on his television. It's funny how people think that I'm on TV. Some people leave comments. Which I find very weird, that they're out there watching me on television and they go, you know, if you improved this or did something else, you'd be like Top Gear or whatever. And you kind of go, hang on a second, it's just me. Like, it's not, this isn't a production company or anything. It's funny how the crossover is starting to happen between what's a television station and what's a YouTube channel has become this sort of crossed over point. Rembig, do you think the new Dacia electric car would change the game for cheap electric cars? It won't in Ireland because we're not bringing it, which is the first weird thing that I've just heard last couple of weeks, which is Dacia's not going to bring the Dacia, whatever it's called, to Ireland. I don't think it's going to change electric cars. What I think is you'll have car companies, because like Dacia itself, the Sandero hasn't changed the car market, you know what I mean? So it didn't change, just gave another choice, just a more reasonably priced option. So I don't think it's actually going to change the car market, but I think it will make the car market a different place, electric car market at different places. People try to search for a car that's electric, that's reasonably priced, which currently there isn't really one apart from the Zoe. But if you can go in cheaper than the Zoe, then you're nailing a different part of the market. Got to get a drink of water. But we'll see if Dacia can bring it. Like, maybe there's a market for it in Ireland. I don't know, but as far as I can see right now, they're not going to bring it to Ireland, which is a disaster zone, because Ireland is the one who needs a cheap, reasonably long distance travel. But I think what Renault Ireland would be considered about, because Renault and Dacia here is the same, what I'd say they'd be thinking about is taking sales away from the Zoe. That's what I think would really happen, because that's where right now the most affordable of the EVs in Ireland is the Zoe. I can't pronounce your name because it looks, I'm going to say Greek, but it could be somewhere between Greek and Russian, so I can't pronounce that, but anyway, I'll try. Hello, Bob. I recently found out that the passing rate for drive tests in Ireland is 52.5%. Yeah, I've talked about that millions of times. In some test centres, it's as low as 38%. As a person who is waiting for tests, should I be concerned? Well, about 5% of people fail because the car isn't up to standard, or there's something particularly wrong with the car. That's the first thing I'll say to you, is that they come with no insurance disc, or no tax disc, or no NCT, or they don't bring their license with them, or the car is damaged or wrecked in some way or another. That kind of stuff comes up a lot. So be careful of that. That's where most of the fails come from. The second thing is that 52.5% pass rate has been about that for the last decade. So essentially that's how many people pass every single year. So whether they've got a quota that they won't go above, which is very conspiracy theory sounding, but it's possible because the pass rate's about the same, or because the same people make the same mistakes every single time. That also happens as well, as everybody seems to fail on speed, progression, or observation being the three top fail points. Particularly observation seems to be the fail point mostly. But just remember that 5% of people, actually another 5 or 6% don't turn up, which is also counted as a fail. So that's where the fail rate comes into it. Pick a test centre to listen as low as 38%. I'll say that for you. And pick a test centre that doesn't have any roundabouts, or whatever you're weakest on. Pick one of those. Sean Smith said the ZS EV is around 28 grand here. No, don't talk to me about taxes. There's a great comment the other day on my Skoda Enyaq video, which I can't get out the comment right now because it's on my phone. But the comment said that the car, like it's 6 or 7 grand more expensive here in Ireland, maybe more than that, than it is in Germany where it's built. So it didn't seem to, it's just taxes. It's just the way taxes work here. It's just tick, you know. Jake Walsh, opinions on a 2010 1.6 diesel Focus. Nothing wrong with that, it's okay, but it's 2010, it's a 10-year-old car. How much life is left in it? You know, how far do you want to drive it? What's your average mileage per year? They're okay, like, they're reliable enough. Keen Darcy, are you a copper? You obviously don't know who I am, Keen. That's the answer to that question. Is this is obviously your first time here, because that's like an innocent child question. So congratulations. Jovan Trafjic. Wow, you got some wild names today. This is good. 1900 for first time insurance on a Yaris with black. Is that expensive? I don't know what that means. Yaris, I don't know what that means. 1900 quid is not terrible on a Yaris, but I would expect to get a bit lower than that, in fairness. Insurance is dependent on where you live. It goes up. The closer you get to a city centre, the higher it gets. The more risk of it being damaged or stolen outside your house, it gets higher as well. Your age, how many years on test bonus you have, and the size of the engine in the car would be the kind of 4 main factors that would donate how much your insurance is. I would think that around 1200 to 1500 could be a better price for that, but 1900 is not the worst I've ever heard. Brendan Coleman, hi Bob, would you recommend a Dacia Duster? It's a good car. Yeah, the current model is actually really nice. Have you seen that? Really, really nice. And actually, just for a laugh the other day, I did a TikTok on looking at I was looking at Lada, Russia. Do you see the current lineup of Lada stuff? It's actually quite nice looking. They look okay. But yeah, Dacia is very good as well. The current model Duster is nice. You can't deny it's good value. No matter what you look at, the price of it wise, it's just a good value car. Like, not everything lines up and does nice stuff in it, but most of it is pretty good. John Gerard, hi Bob, I think you said your dad is from Glyn in County Louth. Yes, he was. Yeah, I bought my new Peugeot 508 from Adams and Glyn. I previously bought a Leon from there. I live on the other side of the river in Kilrush. Yeah, my father's family's from Glyn. I don't know them, to be honest with you. That's where my father was born. I was born in Kildare. They had long since moved out of Glyn when I was born, but went back there a couple of times. Right, yeah, but there's a butcher's and a bar, I think, as well, as has Flavins, both called Flavin things, which I assume are relatives of mine, but I don't know them. John Dillon, hello Bob, any information on new Skoda 1 litre TSI MHEV hybrid would be good for 30,000 kilometres a year? My God, no, it wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't be. Petrol engines don't do well. TSI engines don't do well on big mileage, and 30,000 kilometres is fairly heavy mileage. when you say commute, if you're on a motorway most of the time, realistically, either electric or diesel is the two options you got right now. Diesel is going to be cheaper to buy straight up, but electric can do that kind of mileage as well. But you're up at the top end with the electric cars. Up at Tesla, you're kind of creeping along there at the very top end of what Kia is able to do, or Hyundai, one of those cars. But realistically, a 1 litre TSI, the mild hybrid stuff, just 30,000 kilometers a year is going to be beyond what it's able to do. I'd stay away from that and head to diesel because it's cheaper, or I'd head electric for sure. You're just gonna fire money into that car. That's essentially what's going to happen over that kind of mileage. Coming up on 1 hour in already. I don't know who's on next on the live streams in TikTok, but we'll keep streaming to the end of everything else to see what happens. Will McGrath, what's the pandemic going to do with my next PCP? Pardon me. I have a 20,000 kilometer a year. I'm working from home 9 months. Will garages factor this in with a car? A win for me. Well, it could be worth more. Your mileage is a lot less than it was going to be. Yeah, I suppose. Like, it works both ways, or should do with PCP. Like, you have a guaranteed minimum future value, but that's not actually the future value of the car. If the car goes back in really good condition with less mileage than it was, it should be worth more. You should make money out of this. You hope. You fingers crossed, but you never know what's going to happen. We could all be talking about being locked down this time next year as well. Lockdown's not working very well for a lot of people out there. Not just businesses, for people at home, where, you know, it's a tough time for everybody to be sitting around at home doing stuff. A lot more money is being spent on home improvements these days than has ever been before, as people start to figure out that they want a garden, that they want to have, I don't know, a stove put in, or a new floor, or new carpets, and that's what's really happening. And the money's going off cars. That's essentially what's happening as well. People aren't spending as much on cars before. Thomas Deegan, well, Bob, currently have a 2007 Volvo C30 and looking to change for something bigger. Any advice? Well, any upgrade is going to be bigger than the C30. C30 is quite small, but there's a ton of people on TikTok who are looking to buy C30s, so you might want to go over to TikTok and say I have one for sale. C30 is actually quite a nice car. I kind of like that, but now where you want to go from there is a whole bigger, massive question, is where you want to go. So you want to get younger, but you want to go bigger. So if you want to get in something around the same age but come inside the 2008 cutoff for new CO2 emissions, you want to get something diesel straight away anyway, which is the part of it. You could go into something like a Mondeo, which is going to be a big change from where you are, to be a bigger car. But if you want to stick into the Volvo range, the V40 is a bigger car, the S60 is a bigger car, and you'll get one a bit younger than one you've got right now and still be in the same brand if you like that Volvo brand. You could also head into something like Mercedes E-Class, around 2010 E-Classes. They're quite nice. James Wilson, E-Class, E-Class again. E-Class better value than S-Class, better equipment, or a Kia Hyundai. Now, that's the thing. That's the problem with the S-Class, is that the S-Class is just really expensive for what it is. For the stuff you get in it is, as a sort of a standard car, it just doesn't seem like a logical car to buy. Like the E-Class, the PHEV estate one, I just reviewed that recently. That's just a superb car to drive along, and has every bit as much equipment, either optional or otherwise, as an S-Class. There's no real difference as far as I can see it. Dylan Spillane, is it illegal in Ireland to have no front license plate? Yes, it is. It's illegal to not display a license plate on the front of your car. You cannot have it on the inside window of your car, tucked up in your dashboard, and it's supposed to be on the front of your car and on the back of your car. And there are specific sizes, colours, sizes, font, all of that's taken care of in the legality. So you can, even if you have a license plate, you can still have an illegal license plate. So having a yellow license plate is illegal. Although I have seen there's a license plate car going around Portlaoise now, and it says NUBE 20 or something, NUBE 20, and that's the actual license plate. It's white on black, and I don't know how that's a proper license plate. It doesn't even look like one. I wonder why. I never got to ask the person. I just seen the car a couple of times. It's a Ford Ranger. Just seen it a couple of times. Keen Darcy, hi Bob, are you a copper? No. Also, do you watch Formula 1? What do you think of the Grand Prix today? I didn't watch it, but I seen that he won. Hamilton's won the 7th one, but I wasn't watching it. I don't really watch a lot of Formula 1, if I'm honest with you, because it's one of those sports that you can watch out of the corner of your eye while you're doing something else. But I'm usually here where I am in the office, so I don't really see streams and things around the TV downstairs, so I don't really watch I don't really watch any of the stream stuff up here, and I don't know if you can even stream Formula One. Can you watch Formula One on the internet? I mean legally. I mean an actual stream, a normal stream. I don't mean some sort of hooky thing. But the Formula One does be on the BBC stuff downstairs, and sometimes I catch up on it later on when I'm not doing. But it's not something you actually sit down and. Well, it's not something I would sit down and just watch a whole Formula One race. Sean Reedy, sorry, I missed out on your super chat. I didn't see that pop up on the screen. Sean Reedy has donated by super chat as well. You can donate by all kinds of ways in the list of links down below if you want to. There's loads of ways, including buying the little fixed thing, which is brilliant. I haven't got the thing now because it's in the car. That's it in the car. It's plugged in permanently into the Leon. So every time my wife starts it up, my phone goes bloop and tells me all the error codes that are on the car, which is funny because the kids are monitoring it. But it's really good. It actually works on all kinds of cars, even electric cars and things as well. So you can use it for all kinds of things. But there's other ways to support it as well, like PayPal, Patreon. You can do super chats. You can become a channel member. There's all kinds of ways down below if you want to do any of those. It's very good because we are unfunded. We don't have a sponsorship or any of that sort of stuff. Mark O'Reilly, hey Bob, hope all as well. Tis trading in a 184 horsepower Leon 152 FR for an ID4. That's a big change. That's going to be a big change. Anyway, garage give me 9k trade-in. Car has 170,000 dealers since service and immaculate. You don't do prices, but it's better to sell privately. You will get more than 9k for that privately. Surely for a 152 is worth more than 9k. Like that's not exactly an old car now by any means. You definitely get more for that than 9k. Now, the hassle of service of selling that yourself, the hassle of getting rid of it yourself, that's where they make money from it, because it is a bit of a hassle selling it on your own. But you'll definitely, if you're not in a hurry, which ID4 won't be here till the middle of next year, you'll definitely get more for that car selling it privately. I'm sure the dealership is going, it's going to be hard to sell a Leon FR. So he's probably taking that into account. But 9k seems lowball to me, even with 170,000 kilometers. I'm assuming it has a full service history. Just checking in a bit over there. People joining and leaving. Good to have you all. Don't forget to click the little link in the bio up here if you can, if you're on TikTok, and you'll find all kinds of ways of supporting the channel and all kinds of ways of supporting every channel, which is all here. My streamer links I'll try to update all the time if I can. So if you see something missing from the streamer links list, bobflavin or streamerlinks.com/bobflavin. If you see something missing there, let me know. Something I've mentioned or other that I haven't thought about putting in the streamer links. So if I talk about something, I'll try and put a link in there. So it's worth subscribing to that or keeping that in your diary so you know where it is. Mark already said, am I asking because there are no deals in ID range? I'm thinking, oh my god, I just shot forward, sorry. I'm thinking I might be better off selling private, just timing is the issue. That's the problem as well, Mark, is dealerships make a lot of money from the fact that you don't want the hassle of selling it yourself, and you don't want to be without a car while you're waiting for another car to be delivered, and that's what they make a lot of money out of. So the simple answer to that is trade it in. Hopefully look for a better price of cost to trade. Always talk about the cost of trade. Never talk about how much they're giving you for your car. Always talk about the difference between the two cars. So the car to change cars is going to cost me 20 grand. You talk about that figure, right? You don't talk about the fact you're getting 10 for yours or 9 for yours, whatever. So maybe negotiate over that price a bit better and take the hassle out of it, which is where most of the problem comes from, is the hassle of changing the car. It's just a pain, you know. Aid says, hi Bob, what do you think of the value of monthly hire EV companies like Onto? I've seen a few of these around and I'm waiting for them to come into I think this is the future of actually buying a car. You know, I don't think we're going to actually own cars in very near future. I think we're actually going to pay a monthly subscription to have the right to drive a car, which sounds, if you think about it, it's actually quite logical. Maybe not for businesses, maybe not for people who actually do a lot of mileage every year, but if you're like my wife, who might drive 6,000 kilometers a year, but she might not drive every day. Some days she'll walk. So in a way, she's able to just, like renting a car, she can pay a small subscription every single month and pick up a car when she needs one, rather than actually have it there. And I suppose that will happen over time, but it's a bit like a long-term lease. You pay a lower fee over a longer period of time. You can change out the EVs whenever you feel like it. That'd be a handy way to go forward. And I think that'll probably come into Ireland, but it'll probably be held back by the SIMI. We won't get that choice just yet because they need to look after everybody. Keith Crisham, Eco Gore-Tex shoes or boots for that lad doing a lot of walking. Of a pair of Eco, or is that Echo, the company Echo. Work shoes last about 7 years. Pricey, €150, €200, but definitely worth the money. I wouldn't mind. I don't really mind paying a little bit more for something that lasts a long time. I'm very into that, getting as far as you possibly can out of something before you have to get rid of it. So I kind of like that factor. But it's very hard to actually find something. And Eco, I have a pair of Echo sandals which I've had for a good, I'd say, 10 years now. And that's been working very well. There's Saucy Roll in the chat as well, and has donated €5 for twerking on the live stream yesterday. I did a live stream yesterday on TikTok, and I did it for an hour, so it's an hour part of a 36-hour thing. And part of that was, if someone gave in €100 into the Lindsay Bennett fundraiser, I would twerk, and I did twerk for about 2.5 seconds.
Ginger, honey, and lemon.
Oh, my wife has brought me a different drink today. Do you know what she brought me? Ginger, honey, and lemon. And it's real ginger too. Look, she does this. Do you ever see one of these things? I'll take it out very carefully. There it is. That thing there is a little metal teabagger thing. So it sounds rude, but essentially you put your ginger into that little yolk and it strains out into the water. Oh my God, that's lovely. Oh man, I can talk on for another hour yet. Stick with it, babies. But yeah, so the trick was yesterday, the first person put €100 down, and I would twerk. I didn't think anyone actually would, but they did. The bastards. So anyway, that'll be all over the internet very soon. Ryan Gleason, hey Bob, I hope you're well. Did I miss one? No, I didn't. I hope you're well. I am. How are you, Ryan? Would there be a big jump in insurance price between 2013 Polo Match and a 2013 Polo R-Line? Got a quote for a Match and it was €1,300. I don't think so. You won't get too much of a difference between the two, They really only are interested that it's a Polo. As long as it's not a Polo GTI, it won't be that much of a difference between the two. No. I would say if it's less than £100 of a difference between the two of those, even if it comes up much higher, it seems to come up much higher first. Be sure to phone everybody. Phone everyone to get your insurance quotes, because the more you phone, the cheaper it becomes all the time. Richard O'Neill, how's the farm? Just came here from TikTok to YouTube. That's the way. See, some people are coming from here to there. And Eugene says, may Jesus save us all on TikTok. Congratulations, Eugene. I wonder, will he? It'd be nice if we did. I'm not quite sure what I need saving from at the moment, though. Richard says, what do you think of drift games for Irish Touring Car Championships? Are you into a car racing, Aaron? I am, but it's very hard. What I find with car racing, and this comes to rallying as well as looking at drifting and drift sections and all, if you're not in the people who are doing it, if you're not with them, or you're not in their Facebook page, it's not very well advertised. So I only tend to find out when these things are over. This is the problem for me, because I don't really use Facebook for keeping up to date with things. So I only really find out when something is ended, and someone puts up a photograph of it somewhere going, I was at the drift championship today, and you go, if I wanted to know I was on it, would have went. So the problem usually is kind of the advertising behind it. But I would love to go along and see some of that stuff. I'd love to go along and see some of the drift stuff. I think it's brilliant. It looks brilliant. It's probably one of the more friendly TV audience or viewer audience thing, because you're right beside it, it's happening right in front of you. It's amazing to watch. Whereas road rallying is a bit harder to do, because it does keep all the tracks secret and all that sort of stuff. So there's that part as well. But I think there's an end in sight for all of it. But the problem is, if they don't expand the audience for it, you're going to be in real trouble. If you don't bring in new blood into the audience, it's never going to pick up. Like, I remember when we were in New Zealand, their road racing thing was advertised for months in advance. Absolutely everybody. There was posters all over the place. There was mass emails sent out. There was ads in the paper telling you when it was on, where to go, how to see it. Just they brought in huge audience, because everybody just treated it as a day out rather than being involved in the industry at all. And that's what you got to watch out for. Is if you want to improve your situation, you need to bring a bigger audience. Kiosk Car Valuing points out that leather conditioner from Audit will work really well in your steering wheel, just to keep it from getting gunged up by hand wash and all these antibacterial things we're using lately. Adam Cully, we'll have to go for a drink in Grace's when all said and done. Where's Grace's? In Kildare Town, is it? I think there's a Grace's in Kildare Town. Or is that in... I don't know where that is, actually, to be honest with you. I've spent longer outside of Kildare than I ever spent living in Kildare. I was born in Kildare, but I moved out of Kildare when I was like 17, 18, something like that. And never really came back to live in it for years and years. Oh my God, that drink is so good. What'd you say was in it? Honey, lemon and ginger. I might go off tea and... No, don't get ahead of yourself. Go off tea and coffee. That won't happen. But yes, I will. Certainly, when all the lockdown's over, we'll arrange a meet-up. Once everybody's legally allowed to meet up, that the guards won't come and tell us all to go home, then yes, we will have a Sunday cars and coffee sort of thing at some point. Claudia Carney, when renewing provisional license, it can be renewed anytime within the 3 months before the expiry date. Yes, it can. And there are people out there who are purposely not taking the test or failing the test and just staying on a provisional license because it's easier that way, seemingly. Lloyd Wadding says, I ordered my Fix-It reader last week through your profile, so thank you very much. Very good value there. Yeah, you see, they work. They're really good. And honestly, this little yoke here, right? Someone else pointed out on the chats here as well, or on TikTok or something, they were saying they were £90 on Amazon, and I gone, yeah, right, they're only $60 on the Fix-It site full price, but they are 90 quid on Amazon, and the one that I have from my link is $20. $20 is 14 quid, and then you need like 14 quid delivery, so you'll have it on your doorstep for €30. If you order 2 of them, by the way, you don't need to pay delivery for 1 because it comes straight from the plant, from the factory. Eric Watcher says 58,000 subs, looking good for 60,000 by Christmas. Yeah, I'd say so. That should be alright. It's gaining by about 2,000 a month, I think, at this stage. That's fine by me. I never really worry about numbers. It's the same on TikTok. I don't know what I am on TikTok. 68,000 or something on TikTok followers. It slows down. It goes in these cycles. You know, you get this cycle of things. And I actually prefer to have engaged audience than huge numbers. Huge numbers is deadly if you want to go to marketing groups, you want to get at people and kind of go, look, I have 1 million subscribers, this is great. But actually, you're better off with people who are very engaged, like you, Eric, or people who, you know, people who comment, or people who really take an interest in your channel or what you're trying to achieve. That sort of stuff, that's more important than having 1 million subscribers, because it becomes unmanageable. Like TikTok for a bit was nearly for 6 weeks, it was nearly unmanageable. It's just like 2,000, 3,000 questions a day. It's just not possible to keep up. And the minute you stop feeding it, it stops feeding you. So never chase numbers wherever possible. Thomas Koraski, I probably butchered your name, Thomas. I'm really sorry. Hi Bob, are the prices of new cars for January delivery already the new VRT base for those prices will show up only from the 1st January? Only supposed to be instigated from the 1st of January, but I would suggest that some of the car prices have been rising every single year for the last 4 years, 5 years even. Basically, I ordered my new car for January is already the lowered price I'm paying. The better to wait order until January. See, that's the problem, Thomas. At the moment, we don't have clarification as to what way prices are going to go up or down. We just don't. And some cars are going up, some cars are going down. So the new price is only supposed to be from January the 1st. So from there is supposed to be the new price. But I would say there's a lot of gazumping going on as prices go up and down and go up around and go around the place. There'll be a lot of that going on. So, you know, do your deals now. Look, this is why I suggest people to sign up for media press releases, because a lot of those press releases contain prices and you can see how the price is progressing over the years. But cars have gotten progressively more expensive every single year for at least the last 4 years. Lucy O'Donnell, how far over the speed limit would you have to be for a speed van to actually ticket you? 10%, 8 to 10% is where you need to be. So if you're doing 100 kilometers, 108 kilometers an hour to 110 kilometers an hour is enough to trigger the camera to send you a speeding ticket. But your speedo is a speed indicator. It's not accurate. Most speedos in the car are out by 10%. So when it says 100 kilometers an hour, you're probably only doing about 95. That's usually, most speedos are like that. And every press car I've had, which has been hundreds of them now, none of them have ever been near the speed limit, really, when you're driving along. Accuracy has improved a little bit, but generally speaking, it's still a bit lower. So you would have to be probably 10% over the speed limit. In a 50 kilometer an hour zone, it would probably be a little bit less. 55 might be enough in a 50. You know what I mean? So the slower the limit, the lower the target becomes. So you got to be a bit careful. Be close to the speed limit. But you can. Problem is, you never know whether you've been ticketed or not, do you? When you drive by, you go, oh no, speed van. No, you wait 2 weeks and nothing turns up. You know. Sean Reedy says, got my Fix-It during a week. It got hit with a €20.45 fee. I didn't get any fee at all from customs you're talking about. I got nothing. It's under $20. So it doesn't, like, I think the limit is $80, isn't it? It's supposed to be, or is that from China or something? There's some limit that it has to reach before they hit you with anything. I got hit with nothing. Not a thing. $10.45 with tax and $10 for on-post handling fee. I didn't get any handling fee at all. So I did exactly what you did, and it came in the post for me, and there was no handling fee. So I don't know how you got it. And I've had loads of people on TikTok and here tell me, that's great, it's absolutely brilliant. Not one of them mentioned a tax on any of it. So I don't know how you ended up with yours taxed, Ryan. Or Sean. I didn't. Ryan Quinn, opinion on a new 2-litre engine from Ford Wildtrak. Not as good as the 3.2. There was a 3.2 was a brilliant, or 3.4 or something was a brilliant engine, that York. It could haul anything anywhere. And I know a mate of mine who had the 3.2 went for the 2-litre in a Wildtrak sense of the thing, and he has a mini digger, and he finds the car to be struggling a little bit on the mini digger. And he had the older Wildtrak, the bigger engine, never struggled. The trailer or the digger hasn't changed, just the car, and he's finding it a little bit struggly. But that's emissions that's driving it down again. So the emissions on the car is lower if the car has a smaller engine. To some degree it's lower anyway in certain situations. So they've lowered the size of the engine. So is Volkswagen put the 2-litre in as well. Like they're all at Navara has 2-litre. They've all got the smaller 2-litre engines in them now these days. Julien, oh my god, Frenchie has put in €95 in the last 11 minutes. What happened to you? €95 into our GoFundMe page, which is also linked somewhere down below. If it's not, I forget how to do that. I'll put it in here just in case. No, I won't do that. That's the Skoda G-Tech. I'll put it in a minute. Mayo won. No way. Did Mayo win the thing? Like I said, I don't really watch sports, but I was watching the other night when was it Kerry was robbed? Who was robbed the other night? They were playing a Gaelic match, and in the last minute somebody scored a goal and just walked away with it. It was just heartbreaking. I'm sure it was heartbreaking. Jason Cave says 10% plus 1 or 2 miles per hour apparently in the UK. Yeah, it's thereabouts. 8 to 10%. It'd be very hard to prove one way or the other. Like, you'd want to be speeding to actually get a speeding ticket. I prefer to see the guards on the side of the road or police on the side of the road, as they will chase you down, then you negotiate with them. You can't, I wasn't speeding that much. At least you can talk to a human, whereas the van just does you. That's it. Paul McGee, Bob, what's the story with Brexit and its effect on Northern Ireland? Will you still be able to drive freely across from north to south with no hassle? That's the whole deal rests on that one. That's been dead honest with you, Paul. The whole thing rests around the idea of Northern Ireland, of the European backstop is what it should be actually called, not the Northern Ireland backstop, but the European backstop. So Southern Ireland is part of Europe. So if you land into Europe from Europe, you're supposed to be able to go anywhere else in Europe, right? But if you put up a border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, who's going to cross the border is the problem. Who's going to get there, so we don't know is the answer to that. We're still waiting on decisions, and it's like in 30 days, is it, or less at this stage, before they actually do the Brexit thing. Wow, that's strong. Eugene Hogan says there are companies who will ultrasonically clean a DPF. Another way out, they'll remove it and clean it and put it back on. I don't know the cost of that. I don't know whether that's prohibitively expensive, or it couldn't be that expensive. It's certainly cheaper than replacing one. Dylan Ireland, what's your opinion on Audi A4 B6? What do you want to know about it? It's an Audi A4. It's small back seat, but other than that, it's an Audi, so it's going to be pretty reliable, and they look well. Niall Power, how long before we have flying cars like the DeLorean Back to the Future? That'll be a long way off. Actually, I saw a brilliant yacht the other day in Japan where someone had it's like a drone that you sit in, and you have to wear a whole suit with helmet and everything. But it seemed to be like a taxi. Like, you could get a taxi, and it was like a drone. It would fly you from thing to thing. They were waiting for permissions to actually use it as a commercial sense, but it was only a one-seater thing. So flying cars are here essentially. Now we've done it, we've invented them, that's it. Brian, do you think you will see a time where the public transport bus network in Ireland could be charged like China did for the 2020 Olympics, go completely electric? We could do that right now, Brian. The thing is, you think about Dart has been electric since the 70s. That came out. We could easily have electric buses, and used to have tram system right through the centre of Dublin, and we currently have an electric tram system right through the centre of Dublin. We had to rebuild it. We had one before, so we could easily do that for our public transport network. But Dublin Bus seems to refuse point blank to change over to anything that even looks electric. They always seem to go for the diesel stuff, even before they brought in some sort of ban on buying in new stuff. From that point, they ordered 40, 60, 70, 80 buses or something just before the budget changed the rules about buying diesel. So we could easily have electric buses right now, particularly with the overhead wires. You could actually transfer the buses that currently drive on the road to run on overhead wires. So it's totally possible. I don't know why we don't do it. We should just do it. We should just bite the bullet and change over to our public transport system to be full electric. It would work perfectly well. Brian Cullen says, please don't encourage people to remove their DPF. Not good. Have you ever stood behind a vehicle after DPF was removed? I have. And before DPFs even existed, I've seen all that as well. Sometimes there's no way around it. Other people need to answer questions or ask questions, and that's what comes up. You should always clean your DPF and keep your EGR valve clean and keep everything else clean inside the car. But the older ones had to be replaced. The newer ones can be fixed in certain ways. They can be cleaned out and fixed, and often the newer ones are really reliable, but the older ones can be in bits, and they're just prohibitively means the whole car has to be destroyed because the DPF is not worth replacing. So there's stories to both sides of that coin. Ludwig Kennedy, what car would you buy if you won the Euro Millions? A camper van. That's exactly what I would buy. Isn't that terrible? A car nut would buy a camper van. I'd buy a camper van. I'd probably buy something nice and sensible, something ordinary, to be honest with you, because last thing you want to do is be driving around in a Lamborghini Murcielago and being followed home everywhere you go and looking like a Euro Millions winner. So really you just want to be driving around in like an S-Class or an E-Class or something, you know, Audi A6 or RS7. I'd buy an Audi RS7. Because you could remove all the badges. Sam C. Is the Renault Clio hybrid coming to Ireland? Yes, I think so. I seen that on a press release the other day. So is the what's the little crossover? The Capture. There's a Capture hybrid coming as well. So yeah, the hybrid ones are coming. PHEV hybrid or mild hybrid will all be arriving here. Electric cars are just really expensive, and that's why they're not bringing electric versions of all these cars out in the blink of an eye. It's very hard to get supply on the batteries as well. It's the other part of that. They're all struggling because Siemens seem to be doing most of the battery of these cars. They're a Korean company, and of course Kia and Hyundai have done deals there that make sure that they take all of those batteries. Alan Acaster, have you tried the MG V5 estate? No, I haven't tried. I haven't driven any MGs, but I will have news on MGs soon. I'm doing a number of deals at the moment to get hold of electric cars for long-term test drives. See if I can figure out what this electric thing is all about. Hi Bob, what do you think of the Astra 1.7 CDTI? It's a common rail diesel. They're pretty good. The engine's okay. Astra wouldn't be my favourite. Opels of that vintage wouldn't necessarily be my favourite. There's too many buttons on the dashboard and they're quite uncomfortable on long drives. If you're tall, should I say, add that to it. But the common rail diesels are pretty reliable cars. They'll keep going for you. Nigel Dunn, I'm answering questions from 2:54 p.m. so I'm sorry for falling behind on you, but it does get this way around this time of the day, alright? If you're concerned about the 1 litre EcoBoost, do you have the same concern about the Skoda 1 litre 115 horsepower turbo? I have it in Kamak, great power for its size, by the way, with DSG. I would be concerned with any small petrol engine that they've just put a big turbo on or a fast moving turbo on, because a turbo has to work all the time. You know a cooler fan inside your car, inside your computer, you know those fans that they put on top of the processor and the fan consistently turns. That fan gets slower and faster and slower and faster, and over time a lot of those fans have to be changed out in a computer system. So you can imagine a little turbo inside a car, which is essentially the same thing, spinning at 250,000 RPM every moment of the day that you're driving around. It just puts a lot of stress on it. So you'd imagine the turbo will go over a couple of years. Now, I don't have any proof that this will happen, but I can't see how those little tiny engines with those little turbos spinning ferociously all day long can be one that's going to be around in 10 years. You know, it's a long, we need cars to be on the road for a very long time. That's the problem there. And so I would have the same concerns about any of those small little turbo engines. Great engine though. I have driven that Skoda and I have driven the EcoBoost from Ford as well. They're great little engines to drive. Thoughts on a 2010 Clio as a starter car? Yeah, stick to the petrol ones. The diesel ones are very noisy in 2010s, but the little 1.2 litre petrol is a good little car. Yeah, great little car to start out with and cheap to insure as well. I can't even pronounce your name. Something Quinn. I'm sorry about that. What do you think of the Skoda Superb 2 litre 2017? Yeah, probably the most better value car on the market currently is that Skoda Superb from 2017, because it's massive. It's huge. Buy an estate version of it if you can with DSG and a 2 litre diesel, and you'll still be driving it in 10 years and you still won't figure out where everything is in it because it's so big. Dara O'Halloran, my driving instructor and others around have all upped their prices in the last week to 15 more euro. You see, everything's going up in price, and this is very disturbing, because I've seen that a couple of times on TikTok where people are getting lessons, and the lessons have suddenly gone from 35 to 50 for the rest of the, like they've done 4 of their 12 lessons or whatever it is that they booked, and the price has gone up in the middle of it. So we would need explanations on this from the RSA, and we'd need explanations on this from everyone as to why these prices are going up. Surely, be to God, they've gone up for a good reason. And the people who've got their lessons up to this point will be honoured at the price of the last time, because it seems crazy to know you have to take 12 lessons, but they're going to go up in the middle of it. You know what I mean? I see Eric Rotcher's having to work today as well. All of the administrators and moderators on my channels are now full-time employed while we're here. Henry Letton, I got a quote on a 3-litre TDI Audi A5 2012-ish for just shy of £1,900. I'm 18 and have 1 year's not had bonus, current play £1,400, no box for my Saab 9.3. Saab 9.3, what a car! That's alright though. I mean, you're going up to a 3-litre Audi A5. Nothing wrong with that price, really, when you think about it. You're not going far up. Like, a Saab 9.3 is a great car though. I was actually looking at one the other day, Saab 9.3, on somewhere Dundee or something, and I was thinking to myself, I think it was like £1,800 euro, and I was thinking, would I, should I, will I? It needed some work. Don't know how much work it needed though. Raymond Grace, hi Bob, have you driven the latest Opel Insignia? No, I don't think so. The last Opel I have was a Grandland. I don't even think there's an Insignia on the press fleet. Like, I'm not sure it's the I have driven Insignia, but I'm not sure what the last one that I've driven is, whether that's the current model or not. They like rugby. Yeah, I like the Irish rugby team. I don't watch county rugby or any that sort of stuff, but I watch the international matches when Ireland's playing. I do watch a bit of rugby, yeah. I know some of the Irish rugby team as well. Like, I personally know some of them. Liam Cotter, well Bob, would you recommend an manual or an auto for first car? Because I think I'd rather an automatic. Automatic is much more, if you're lazy, it's better that way. But if you're taking a driving test, if you take a driving test in automatic, you're only then qualified and insured to drive an automatic. You're not allowed to drive a manual without another test. So best to take the test in a manual and then buy an automatic after that, because it's just, I prefer the whole D-Go thing. Just in, go, drive, don't worry about it. It's much easier. And like, automatics got a bad name back in the 80s because they'd go, and when an automatic gearbox goes, it's gone. The whole gearbox is gone. Whereas with a manual one, you could actually change out the gearbox much easier, it's much cheaper. You could change out one gear as well if you wanted to. But with the automatics, they were terrible. But automatics now are really reliable. Robbie K, hi Bob, I got a 2014 Megane 1.5 DCI. It cost me nothing, but due to no longer commuting, I'm thinking of changing away from diesel, but not sure what to go for. Would love to go electric, but can't afford it. You're not alone, Robbie K. There's many people out there who are in exactly the same situation with you, who are panicking about moving from a diesel to an electric, but an electric seems very expensive, particularly when you're coming from a 2014 Megane. It's a big stretch. You're coming up 6 years and you're coming into an electric car, which is very expensive. You could go a couple of years younger than that into a Volkswagen Golf or something that is also diesel. But like, if you're no longer commuting, so like at this stage, if your commuting is disappearing, you should be looking at petrol. You should be looking at hybrid, PHEV. There's a few of them around, older ones that are around there as well, so you can find some of the older hybrids around the same age as you've got, but to be in the same kind of price bracket. It'll be a little bit cheaper, but you're still going to have to spend more money to upgrade even to PHEV. So your only hope is to go straight in for petrol or something like that. Pat Ward, you have 5k to buy a first car. What do you get? I don't know, because I don't know what 5k gets you. I don't know the price of things. I don't sell cars, so I don't know what you would get for $5,000 without just going into Dundee and going click $5,000. That's the way I would do it. Something reliable is what you want for your first car, and you don't want something that's within reason. You don't want something that's going to be a gobbler on petrol, or a real heavy yoke. So like an Opel Corsa or something, you want to go back that kind of level, or a Renault Clio, a Seat Me, which is an older car now. You get them for under $5,000 easy these days. It's 3-cylinder little yoke, handy little car, tiny but handy. That's what you want, something that's very easy to drive for the first couple of years so you get your nut lens bonus. Bob, tell me this, is there any way you can get anything out of these solicitors who are the ones keeping young people's insurance because of their cuts, etc.? Infuriates me. Not really, because solicitors help make the laws. It's insurance companies, but it's also the payouts. The problem is mostly payouts. And it's the payouts of when you as a young driver rear end another driver and there's 5 people in that car, and those 5 people each take a personal injury claim against your insurance. That's actually what's driving the prices up, because that's whiplash multiplied by 5 in the same car, and the damage to the car, and all that stuff wraps up in the middle of it. And of course then you have one solicitor with 5 separate cases, or you have 5 solicitors dealing with 5 separate cases, and they're all taking a cut, because most solicitors deal on what's called a no fault no fee system, which means that's no win no fee. So if you don't win the case, they don't take a fee, but if you win the case, they take a percentage fee, which can actually be quite high. So it's in their interest, because it's a percentage, it's in their interest to get as much of a payout as they possibly can. So the bigger the payout, the bigger the percentage they get. And unfortunately, that's the way the solicitors have gone these days, that it's not the high class, high earning job it used to be. Now it's quite a dog eat dog job, and it's quite difficult to queue them all up there. And you can get a solicitor's letter written these days for very little money compared to what it used to be years ago. Now it's very, very reasonable to get something like that done, which is not a no fault no fee. That's just the solicitor's letter. But there's no way, really. The only way is that the Law Society takes that into account, but they're the ones making the laws. Stuart McHugh, here's a man who appears everywhere for me. Everywhere you're on TikTok, you're over there as well. It's great. Well, Bob, I know you mentioned it joking, but I've thought a lot about it recently. Moving left-hand drive, would it be impossible? Doesn't make sense. Only EU countries be right-hand drive. You can do it. It definitely can be done. Most of our motorways were built, they're universal, so motorways going to and from, no matter what side you drive up, the exit will be in the same place, and they've all been laid out in that sort of way. The older roads would be a problem, and small housing estates and things that have been built specifically to drive on the left, so you'd have to reverse all the signs. The investment level would be gigantic to do it. And then the collisions, then the problem of collisions, where you have people who just will not get used to it very quickly, or will find it very difficult for that to happen. But I really do think that we could do that. And not only would that benefit us, but it would also benefit EU, because we'd be able to shop directly in the EU for everything, including cars, and we'd drop down all those taxes and everything else. We wouldn't be so dependent on the used car market coming out of the UK. We'd be more of a used car market coming out of everywhere in Europe, because we'd all be driving the same side of the road. It just seems weird that we're still even discussing this. And I know it sounds like a dreamland idea. It would cause heartbreak for certain people out there, but for me, you do it like that. Once the cars filter through, and eventually we'd sell them all back off again, and we'd all be sitting on the other side of the car. I was literally, the fermenter that I had here was left-hand drive, and it was no different than driving a right-hand drive on the road. It's the same thing. You just have to think. When you're coming out of junctions, you kind of go, I'm on, the head should be near me. Adam Clare, buying an Evo 9 in the new year. Congratulations, good car. Evo 9 and 10 was probably the 2 best Evos ever. It's a bit thirsty, and you need to service it quite regularly. Wow, a lot of lemon in that one now. Jared, how are you, Jared? What's the crack, boy? I'm after killing your Zoom, I think. Hi Bob, late to the show. Watching in the car while the kids play in the playground. What do you think of the GR Yaris? Yeah, not bad looking car actually. 58 grand, and no, including 21 grand VRT. It's crazy, isn't it? 34 grand in the UK. I haven't talked about it already, but the prices between us and the UK are getting out of hand when you start looking at them like that. It's very easy to kind of go, why are we paying 21,000 euros in just tax on a car? And it's 34 grand for the car. I mean, 34 grand is probably about, what's that, 30... We'll say 40,000 euro is 34 grand. It'd be somewhere in that range, between 34, maybe 38,000 euros, what we should be paying for it. Instead, we're paying 58. And that's the VRT thing. That's what nobody wants to deal with out here, is that this VRT is absolutely ripping us apart price-wise, which makes those cars look extraordinarily expensive here, and that's why they don't sell them. Nigel Smith, hi Bob, I got a new Seat Ateca, good car, that, yeah, 1.5. DST, delighted with an experienced model and is well equipped as an S-Class. That's true as well. Yeah, Seat Ateca is well equipped as an S-Class. In standard form, they certainly are. The options list on the S-Class is gigantically long, but then the options list on a lot of cars are too. But yeah, the Seat Ateca is actually one of my favourite cars that Seat brings out. It's just a nice car to be in. It's just very practical. It's the right size. Does everything it's supposed to do. Jared says Go-Car does a car as a service model, Bob, from £9 an hour or so, 48 quid a day. Really good service, includes insurance. Yeah, but Go-Car hasn't rolled out everywhere. It's great in the city, but if we could find Like, the trick is not owning a car. The ultimate goal, I think, for car companies currently is to be in a situation where you pay them, I'm going to pick a random figure, 50 quid a month. You pay 50 quid a month to a car company and you're entitled to 4 cars a month. Do you see what I'm getting with this? Right? So you can change it. So you can ring up and get a car. On Friday, you're taking a train home and you're on your little app and you book in a car for Saturday morning. And on Saturday morning, you get up and outside your door is a Tesla Model 3. And that's yours for the weekend. That'll disappear on Monday again. But for that weekend, it's yours. And it's delivered to your house. I think that's the real what's going on right now. And Volkswagen seen that in the lockdown point, but also Volvo did that too for servicing. So Volvo, you pay Volvo a certain fee and they come and pick the car from your house, go service it and bring it back to you, and you never had to leave your house to do it. Never doing that during lockdown across Europe. So I think that's coming slowly but surely. We're getting to that point. It'd be really nice to see that kind of thing happening, but it does not help dealerships. Obviously, that's not very helpful for dealerships, but it'd be good for us as choice in the market for sure. Ryan Gleason, thanks for the help, Bob. No problem at all, Ryan. Adam Clare, I could message you when Drift Game is on. Yeah, but I'd like to see Drift Games for sure. No problem with going along to it myself, but I'd like to see the Drift Game guys do something with their advertising that opens it up to a new market and doesn't feel like. So people who like Drift go along to Drift. They're already, they don't need to see the stuff. They'll see it on Facebook. They're already in that zone. So they'll have friends reading them going, you come to Drift this Saturday. So they'll have that. But what you need to do is attract a new audience. You need to attract new people into that audience. So people will treat it as a day out. So they go along to it with their picnic basket or, you know, a bar. Like in New Zealand, we used to go along to, it was a racetrack there. We used to go and see truck racing. You know, like full size, big rig trucks, 3 abreast coming down a racetrack at you at full tilt, right? But my friend Spence invited us along, bought tickets, and he erected a tent and put a barbecue in it. We had a barbecue sitting there watching this thing go by, and everybody was sitting there smelling the meat burning, and it was great. But that was the day out. It was packed, absolutely packed. But we seen posters for that for weeks before it was on. So it's about attracting that audience. When you get the audience, you get more drivers. When you get more drivers, you get more advertisers, and this beautiful cycle appears. But if people keep going do drift and just doing drift on their own, you know, eventually the audience goes, why am I here? Like, there's only 5 of us here, or 10 of us here, or 15, or whatever it is, and disappears. And I know it's hard now, of course, because we're in lockdown, and it's hard to get an audience to go and do anything. But yes, do message me, Adam, anytime. Emily Maloney, hi Bob, I came here from TikTok. Good stuff, Emily, thank you very much, love your account. I would be better off buying an 07 Opel Corsa or 09 Ford Fiesta. Opel is about €1,000 cheaper. €1,000? I thought it'd be cheaper, even more cheaper than that. I would sooner be in a Ford Fiesta my own way, but I would also suggest that €1,000 could go towards your insurance. Or your tax or tyres or something on the Opel Corsa. It'll be fine. Fiesta is a nicer car to drive. It's more comfortable and has a better seating position. So that'd be my deal. But €1,000 is better in your pocket than anyone else's. So yeah, you can do that. Fiesta for me. Matt Barden, thanks Richard. Look after yourself. Got my driving test tomorrow. Second go. Failed the first time as a lad overtook me on a solid white line, and the tester failed me on that. Any advice for the test? Speed, progression, observation. It's the 3 things that everybody fails on, but sometimes you fail on other stuff like that. Your reaction to someone overtaking you. The tester may not have failed you because he overtook you. The tester may have failed you because you weren't making progress. So you weren't speeding up enough, which drove the car behind you to overtake you. That frustration wise can really kill you on these kind of tests and stuff. So, but it's speed, progression, observation is the 3 things everybody fails on. Observation being the number 1 thing people fail on. Not making progress being the second one. But definitely you should. You can't be failed on someone else overtaking you, but you can be failed on not making progress. So you drove the person behind you to force you to overtake, and that would be a scary one. So, so definitely watch the observation stuff. Make progress. Progress is about going through the gears: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, fourth, third, second, first. You know, it's that kind of stuff that makes the progress. And observation is about using your mirrors correctly, not over observing, not looking around too much, but paying attention to what's going on around you all the time. But I can't see how you would fail on someone else overtaking you. Ben Slattery, opinion on 2014-15 Audi A3 Saloon S-Line. Petrol one is a nice one. How about that? Diesel's okay if your mileage is high, But yeah, it's a good car. A3 is a nice little car. The saloon is probably the nicest looking car that was ever built by Audi. I think that saloon was just lovely. You can buy it in blue. Actually designed by an Irishman, a fella called David Caffrey. He's from Dublin. He designed that Audi A3. I got very, very drunk with David Caffrey on international launch. I don't think he's met an Irish person for years because he lives in LA, and he came over for the launch of that actual car. He's in the video, in the launch video of that car. He's in it. David Caffrey interviewed him for a minute, and then we went off and had a coffee, which turned into a beer, and then turned into a kind of an all-night session as we talked and sang Irish songs and all that sort of stuff. He's a lovely guy. That car gets a perfect pass from me every time because it's Irish, or it's as Irish as we can make it. Brian Cullen says, Bob, $20, not 14, it's 17. Well, there's also postage change to Ireland, still decent value though. Well, yeah, no, but I can't be accurate all the time. it's somewhere between 14, depending on the exchange rate. It's still bloody good value compared to what you buy on Amazon, which is £90 for the exact same thing. So still good value. But 17 quid plus what was 14 quid was the postage for it at the time. It may have changed. Matt Barden, because he was saying I didn't give my right way even though I slowed down to let him go. He's sitting on a solid white line. So okay, when you're driving, when you learn to drive, things that should be pointed out to you. Number one, it's not your job to get out of the way of other traffic. Okay, so driving in the hard shoulder, pulling over to the left to let a car pass it by, that's not your business. That's the business of the car behind you. So you need to keep, in a defensive sense, for instruction purposes, you need to keep your thing going the way you are without changing your road position just because someone wants to go by you. It's a solid white line. They shouldn't be over. That's their fault. But in your respect, you shouldn't be getting out of their way. The only time I would shift over in a lane is if a motorbike's coming. But in a driving instruction situation, no, I'd keep between the nice white lines, and anybody behind me will have to put up with it. But if you're making good progress and you're not speeding, then there's no reason to be overtaken. It's your reactions as driving what's happening there. If you look like an amateur at the driving test, you will fail. That's essentially what it should, and you should. It's the same for people driving on their own. When they're driving around the town on an L plate on their own, they look like rank amateurs, and if they get their car seized, they go, oh, I couldn't get anyone to drive with me. But if you look like an amateur, they're going to seize your car. Hey Bob, what car company has the best finance options? The only finance option you need to worry about, if you're buying PCP from a car company, all you want to look for is 0% finance, the lowest amount of finance you have to put in. Be very careful of the balloon payments on either end. So the deposit to get in and the last payment to get out, because if the payments in the middle are very low, then probably the payment to get out is very high. That's the only thing that happens between the two of them. So there isn't a particular good one. It's just the lowest interest rate. Some of the car companies go a little bit softer on the customers. So like Volkswagen, if you were looking to buy a Volkswagen or a Volkswagen group car, sometimes Volkswagen will offer you preferential treatment because you're buying one of their cars as well, and they just want you as a customer. Renault can do as well, but the rest of them just all go through standard banks. Some people are better off going to a credit union to buy a car. We just shot forward again. Hold on a second. Here we are. Chris Hunter, Bob, Q5, XC60 or GLC? I can't remember mine up. 2018. XC60 is the best driving out of those cars. The GLC is probably my favourite looking car of those three, and the Q5 would have the biggest boot. I would buy the GLC, weirdly, as I would normally pick a Q5, but GLC is just the nicest car to feeling out of those. You feel special in it. XC60 has the best drive in it, but it's quite numb in comparison to the GLC to drive, so buy the GLC. Paul Dunn, I saw a report in the UK that 2020 was the first year that automatics have overtaken manuals in new car sales. Correct. Weird cars are winning out this year. ID3 was the number one selling car in the last 2 months in Ireland, mostly because of back orders, obviously. But Tesla actually outsold Mercedes in Germany a couple of weeks ago, and then the EQC came back and overtook that, which is also an electric car. These are all automatics, so they're all counted as automatics, even though they don't have a gearbox, technically. There isn't really a proper gearbox in them, but they're actually counting the automatic sales, so that's why automatics look like they're rising, because electric car sales are rising, but also because a lot of car companies are doing away with manuals on their bigger cars. Like I don't know if there's any manuals left in like Audi A6 or E-classes, or I don't know if you can actually order a manual. You probably have to order from the factory if you can. Glenn's YouTube. Oh no, I missed one. Sorry, I'll come back to you in a minute, Glenn. Tony O'Mara. I got a speeding ticket, 90 and an 80. And then I saw the van, I was sure it was okay, but the car in miles per hour, so maybe I was well over. 90 kilometers an hour in an 80 is, I had the same sort of experience. I was doing like, what was I doing, 68 in a 60 or 70, or I can't remember. I was like 8 or 9 kilometers an hour over. It got me 3 points, and you have to kind of suck it up. So you could have been. Yeah, the problem is the miles per hour as well doesn't help. Glenn's YouTube. Bob, thinking about it, 1.83 1.4 TFSI. People are telling me to wait till the new year. What's your opinion? Thanks. You're buying a new one, Glenn, is what you're talking about. If you're buying a new one, they're slightly cheaper now than they will be in January. It's going up, not down, depending on which way you look at it. Most of the petrol powered or diesel powered cars, standard ones, are going up in price in January because of the change of VRT. I wouldn't wait if I was you. I'd just go in, do a deal in your dealership. Ring the dealership up and go, I want to do a deal on this car. Will you charge me more now or later? You got to think about that sort of stuff. Few donations are coming into our Curie Lindsay B thing. Nicola Dowling, Aoife Hughes, David Kelly. Thank you very much, everybody, for the money you've donated so far. You're very good. You're coming from everywhere now at this stage, which is great. Sean, still value $59 on customs declaration. How is it $59? Because you only paid $20. It doesn't make any sense. There's something gone wrong there, Sean. Because that's the only time I've heard about it. It's the single moment out of all the couple of hundred of them at least is after selling across the platforms that people have been buying and emailing me and goes, this is brilliant. No one's mentioned any customs declaration, so you're the only one that's come up. So I can't help you anyway. Customs has absolutely nothing to do with me. I know nothing about customs. I know I didn't get charged any customs. I have it here in my hand. Well, I have the cardboard box of it. The rest of it's in the car, of which the car just left a few minutes ago and connected by Bluetooth. It went blink onto my phone, and so I know there's still an error code that I can't do anything about. Kevin the Boo. Bob, I was living along the border in Dundalk. Is there any way that I can use the UK car and insurance? Do I have to live in? No, you have to live on the UK side. You can only get, if your address is on this side of the border, you can only get insurance and tax and everything else. Here, the car would have to be registered to someone over the border and permanently residing there, if you know what I mean. You can drive down here on UK car insurance if you're registered in the Northern Ireland, but only if you're registered there. If your address is on this side, you're stuck with our insurance companies, which of course aren't the same. Parisian 666. Bob, what way do you think the vintage car scene will end up looking at this next few years? Japanese cars are getting impossible to insure and they're so popular with the next generation. Well, we will have classic car insurance for sure. There's a point at like 10 years where insurance companies are going, don't know about this. 20 years seems to be a little bit easier, but Japanese cars, they don't like important Japanese cars because often Japanese cars are completely different than the ones that are here, and it's impossible to get parts for. So they get instantly, when something happens to them, they get instantly written off instead of actually being fixed. So it's a kind of crazy situation we're in right now. Is the insurance companies are ruling the roost here, and we actually need to start standing up for ourselves, which is the most part of this, is that there's a ton of people here who want to insure cars, classic cars, but they can't get insurance because they're not Hillman Hunters and they're not Ford Capris. They're like Toyota Corollas, they're older cars, or Datsun's 280 XE or something. They're kind of older, weirder cars. But if they don't exist in the insurance list, they won't give us insurance on them. James Carter, opinion on a Volkswagen Jetta with a reek map? Don't do reek stuff. Know nothing about it, and it's probably not something you should bother with. It's very childish, I think. Andrew Tully. When watching car reviews that are based in the USA, most of the cars still have big engines. The minimum seems to be 2 litre. I know, yeah. So are European buyers paying the price for this emissions wise? Well, you see, it's the size of the US and the size of the market is the problem there. They're used to that. It's what we're used to diesel, and we shouldn't be because we weren't for a long, long time. The EU incentivizes us into diesel. The problem is that the American market is very concerned with the size of the engines, gas mileage. The way they measure the size of the engine is slightly different than here as well. And like a litre or a gallon there is not a gallon here. It's a different thing. So their petrol and diesel is actually very cheap at the pumps compared to us. It's getting worse, but it's still not as bad as it is here. So we're very concerned with fuel economy. They're much more concerned with torque and horsepower and towing capacity and size of engine, size of the car. The bigger it is, the better it is. So it's not that we're paying the price. They're paying the price as well, but they don't have a carbon tax like we do. We're taxing ourselves out of the market. That's essentially what we're doing. Slowly but surely, we're just taxing ourselves out of it. Steve McCormick, camper vans are wild money. You can always convert or maybe just rent one out. Do you know you can't get a T5 for love nor money because they're all converted into camper vans? Every one of them on Dun. There used to be hundreds of them on Dun Deal. None. There's just none. Lockdown has caused everyone to try and find other ways of doing holidays. Richard O'Neill, what cars will be classic and next nearly simped over by young lads in 20 years' time? Will it all be IS200s and Altezas rusted away, or will it rusted off at 20? You see, what makes a classic car is nostalgia. That's essentially what happens. So people get nostalgic over a car. So what will become classics over the next few years, like Vauxhall Nova, Nissan Cherries or Datsun Cherries or Vauxhall Vivas, any of those cars, because lots of guys' dads, someone my age, their dad will have driven those cars, you know. Ford Escorts are at that level right now, you know. Lads my age are buying them because I grew up seeing them all over the place. So they're the classics right now, but in the future it'll be things like IS200s, Altezas, Galanzas, what else? Honda Civics, Honda Integras, any of those kind of Jap cars that came over here in the 80s, 90s will all go up in price over the next few years as people go, well, I really want to hold on to that forever, you know. Thoughts on Volkswagen's 4Motion system? Yeah, it's really good. 4Motion is a Haldex system, so Haldex means that it's got a clutch, essentially a clutch and a diff underneath, electronic clutch, and it's able to shift the power. So if it's a front wheel drive until the rear wheels lose power, and then it engages the two rear wheel drive, so it becomes a 4-wheel drive temporarily. But it's not a controllable one, so you can't press a button and it's 4-wheel drive permanently. You can lock diffs on the off-road cars, but that's as close as it gets to being 4-wheel drive, proper 4-wheel drive. Eugene Hogan, the Skoda 1 litre TSI is a reliable engine. I didn't say it wasn't. I've seen him at 100,000 miles. Are you totally right? Ford 1 litre is total joke. Well, I never said it was or not. I'm just my thoughts are that as smaller, tiny engines don't survive very well. How many 1 litre cars from the 80s are still on the road today, right? Or from the 90s are still on the road today? And there was a ton of 1 litre cars you could buy. Very few of them. How many of those little 3-cylinder engines are still on the road today? Loads of them, because there's no turbo in there. But if you put a turbo in on top of those little 3 cylinders, you end up putting a lot of pressure in that car, which makes it very difficult to use, and that's the biggest problem. Garrett Talbot points out that the Good Friday Agreement means no border between North and South. Biden and USA will be important supporters on that front. Neither side want physical border, and Northern Ireland voted to remain. Remember, correct. We'll have to see how it all pans out. I know what the Good Friday Agreement says, but I also am aware that there's a bombacity that goes with the UK in politics, that the politics is very different from their side than our side, and I have a feeling that they want to get rid of Northern Ireland. I always have that impression whenever they talk about it. They always talk about it like it's Argentina, you know, like it's somewhere far away. You know, it always seems to be talked about in that respect, as if it's some other part of the world that's not near them. I always feel that feeling. I think that's because most of the politics is done on the London end of England, which is on the very bottom of it. Northern Ireland seems very far away on the other end, because a lot of them won't have ever been there. Ben Slattery, is it better to bring a car in this year and new year with VR? Yes, it is, yeah, because VRT and NOx is going up in January. So if you're going to import something, you want to do it really quickly. But that still applies now. So VRT is on now and NOx is on now. So you still be paying NOx, but it's all going up in January. Paul Ryan, evening, Bob. Is it evening already? Oh, we're all right. Sorry, it's 25. We're all right. You have probably answered this question many times. It's okay, I do that every day. Before converting a van to a camper van, is it worth with the tax you would have to pay in Ireland? Your tax goes down, but they're quite severe on what is a camper van and what isn't a camper van. So merely sticking a bunk bed in the back of a camper van is not a camper van. They want to see it plumbed out with electric done before it becomes a camper van proper. So if you convert it, you will go down to, is it €54 a year for a camper van versus whatever it is for a van? So it will go down, but you don't pay any tax on the conversion. You have to go to an NCT centre, and they agree that it's now a camper van. So they have to see the engineer's report. I think you need an engineer's report for it, and you've put in the electrics, put in the plumbing for it as well. It needs to have water going to it, so it can't not just put in a little kitchen sink and a bit of a bunk bed. It has to be done properly. Ocean Froggy, first comment seen from you today. Where were you today? You're very late. Bob, do you anticipate a review or test driving the ID4 anytime soon? Looks a proper seller on paper. I have no booking in for it yet. I haven't seen one other than the pictures you guys have seen it, and I haven't been asked about whether we're going. Like, no one is traveling at the moment, so if they release it overseas, we can't go anyway. That's the big problem. Although journalists are back on the safe list, but I still would be worried about going overseas and then being stuck there, or flying back and coming back with COVID-19 from somewhere else, which would, put you in a spotlight as being someone like a super spreader. You don't want to be doing that either. So I don't know, but I have nothing booked in for ID4 yet. But I will find out for you. I'll text the powers that be and see if we can figure out something. McGonner. I think it's supposed to be McConnor. Anyway, I'm one of the mugs in Northern Ireland who put their name down on the waiting list for ID3 4 weeks after delivery date, and they discounted the car by $3,000. Oh my God. That's scary, isn't it? That's terrible when they do that. They should have passed that saving on to you immediately. Graham Harron. Hi Bob and everyone watching. Thanks for another great sign of service. Thank you very much. Today is Remembrance Day of road traffic victims. Oh, I didn't know that now. See how I was thinking of the celebration of light, Diwali or something. I didn't know it was World Remembrance Day of road traffic victims as well, which is a scary thing. Steve McCormick, when you can't call around Europe for insurance quote, you know you're going to be nailed with pricing. That's pretty much par for the course here for a long time now. Bob, there's no such thing as no fault, no fee protection with a legal action. Expenses are still incurred as if the wrong side of the court decision would left the cost of many thousands. Well, you'd have to talk to a legal representative of that, because I have taken cases in the past and been no fault, no fee, and it worked out in my behaviour. No fault, no fee is essentially no win, no fee. They wouldn't take the case if they thought we were going to lose. That's essentially what it comes out. But there can be charges at the other end of it, but all of that comes out of the takings for the rest of it. So plenty of solicitors still advertise no fault, no fee, or no win, no fee as they call it, in the normal way. But yes, there would be some version of expenses that can be incurred depending on which way you look at it, but that's all clarified by solicitors when they're talking to you. Say it, Leon, Mark 2 1.6 petrol or 1.6 diesel. For what, Harry? Petrol's less fuel efficient than diesel, but it depends on what kind of driving you're doing. If you're driving around a town, then it's petrol. If you're driving around the cities, or you're driving out in the M50, or you're going on the N7 the whole time, then diesel is the best way to go. Swedes did the switch from right-hand drive to left-hand drive in 1967, but a lot fewer cars on the road then. Yeah, did you see the picture of that the morning they did it, when nobody could figure out what side of the road to drive on? It was mental for a while. But yeah, we could do it. I think we could do it over time as well. I think we could do it in a very slow and careful way. You could actually do it. Nathan Thompson, A4 S-Line Auto Petrol or Model 3. A4 all day for me personally. A4 S-Line or a Model 3? You talking about a Tesla Model 3 or an A4 S-Line Auto Petrol? I would probably have a Model 3 in that situation, to be honest with you. I know A4 is gorgeous, don't get me wrong, it's a lovely looking car, but Model 3 would just suit me down to the ground. If I was looking at that kind of mid-size 4-door executive car, I think I'd just go electric. As long as the mileage could put up with it, I'd go electric, no problem. Steve McCormick, the Audi A2 is the original Mercedes A-Class with lovely cars, real good candidates for electrification. Yeah, Audi A2 was an amazing car. They just stopped making it. But it was a great car, and they never replaced it properly. They never done that thing again. That thing did like 80 miles to the gallon. Matt Barden is off. Thanks, Matt. Bernard Sampson, with VW PCP will usually find the car is worth much more than the final balloon payment, so trade in and get more towards the car. Hopefully, that's the way it should work out, yeah, as long as you're in good shape. Nobody has handed the keys back, I was talking to Volkswagen about that before. Very, very few walk back in after the 3 years and just hand over the keys and go, I can't afford it anymore, it's gone. So no one does that, even though that's an option you can do. Had to go for a while. Was I missed? You were, Paul. I didn't see your name up there at all. This is terrible. You need an excuse note. You need a note to go to the toilet or anything. Keep going with this. Thomas Heiler, good morning from New Orleans. My 2006 Dodge Ram 1500 quad cab has 6-speed manual transmission. We have the opposite situation in the States. Automatic transitions are everywhere. I got mine in Texas. You were very lucky. Glenn's YouTube. It's a used car, Bob. I watched your YouTube video and you're driving a white A3 saloon. It says 1.4 TFSI, has TDI in the boot. Yes, the footage I believe came from diesel, but it was actually a petrol one. I was driving that. But that was the press car launch I was on. It was a beautiful press car launch. I took a great photograph of that. It had them all lined up outside of a big castle thing. I do remember that one. It's a nice car. Bernard Sampson, hi Bob, I thought I'd return the favour. You did chat with my students and I'm listening to you on the Sundays. Boom, you the man. Was that Harlow College I was talking to recently? I did a talk, beautiful talk, lovely people in Harlow College invited me over to do a chat over there about electric car, well, about cars in general, but also about the first time electric cars were killed off by the First World War essentially. But the first time they were killed off with Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. There's a documentary on YouTube. I've done talk all over the world on that one, in fairness to it, which is pretty good. Lockdown has done me great favours. Noah Thompson, and I can't pronounce the last name. Hi Bob, if a car was seized by the guards for driving on a company, would it go back to the owner at all? You'd have to ask the guards to get it back. Once it's seized, it goes to a great big yard and they need to apply to get it back. But it would depend on the situation. Yes, it will eventually probably go back to the owner, or could end up being auctioned off, but that's unusual for that to happen. It would depend on the circumstances, but you'd have to talk to the Gardaí in question. Whenever you're talking to the Gardaí, guys, take the number that's on their shoulder and find out what station they're in, and you can ring them directly and ask them questions. And that's being dead honest. So, like, everybody has to do that. You have to kind of keep your wits about you and understand what's going on, because otherwise things just happen around you and you don't know who you're talking to. So just find out who you're talking to, get the number on the top of the shoulder, get their name preferably as well, and then get the station where they're stationed, so you can call them directly and talk to them about the case. The Butcher IRL, don't forget the like button, lads. Lassie's also waiting for that game. Oh, that's good as well. Keith Colton, there's a minimum roof height to classify as a camper. That's correct. I forgot about that. That's how the Volkswagen pop-up roof thing qualifies as a camper, weird, because when the roof pops, it is actually a camper then, which is kind of handy. Last few questions. Terry Atkinson, classics are divided into two groups: modern classics and collectibles over 20 years old. So there's a snobbish belief in the club world where a car must be really old or rare and therefore expensive. That's true. I know there is a snobbery over vintage and classic, and then classic insurance. There's a snobbery thing that goes along with that as well. Paul Todd, first time watching Sunday service, really enjoying it. Thanks Bob, thanks for all your videos. No problem at all. Noah says, anyone watching the hurling? I don't know what's on. Bernard Sampson, all countries in the world that drive on the left are islands. The UK and Ireland drive on the left as a result of the Romans. Them Romans. What did the Romans ever do for us? Sweden's reason for changing was having land bordered with the opposite side of the road cross over the rate of actions of foreign visitors on Swedish nationals outside of Sweden. If you ever watch any of the like Long Way Down, where they drive all down through Africa, and you realise that some of the countries in Africa drive on the left and some drive on the right, and it just depends. When you cross a border, you could be on either side of the road. They're not unified either, and it's all on one big continent. But I know it will cause problems, but as Ireland goes, we could get it's a selfish thing. We just want cheaper cars. That's essentially what it comes to. William Bellingham, well, great Sunday service, hope you all had a great week. I'm going to work night shift for some weeks. I'll be getting up for Sunday service, trying to keep up the things, good man. Then we have Saucy Roll. Do you know much about paint warranties? 2011 Hyundai i30 and the ridge that holds the door rubber around the window frame is rusted to bits. I've read the warranties only from shoulder line down. Yeah, shoulder line down is quite normal for the paint warranty. Roof and that kind of roof line up the top isn't usually covered by warranty. But look, there's no harm in tipping into a Hyundai dealer and going, is there anything can be done with this? Because the paint is technically warranted, but just it usually does go from the bottom half of the car. Rather than the top. It's an anti-rusting, but roofs, the problem is roof gets things put on like tree sap and bird crap and all sorts of stuff that absolutely murders roofs. So that's where that came from. Anyway, look, it's after 4 o'clock. We've made it. We've survived the Sunday service today yet again, and still it was like 3,500 people watching here, and over on the other side then we had 100 people a minute. So I've no idea what happened between the two things. But we are after 4 o'clock, and thank you very much for joining me again today. There are a list of links down below if you want to support this channel in some way: PayPal, Patreon, Super Chats, which will be over once the live ends, and then of course you can just come on over to TikTok and keep us all company there as well. There's tons and tons and tons of ways to keep in touch. Streamerlinks.com/bobflavin if you want to find out how to catch me somewhere. I spent like a good 2 hours the other night answering questions on Instagram, which just went on forever. And I do answer a lot of questions, or as many questions as I can manage, on TikTok. But if you want to join me any one of those, you can, or leave comments here wherever you can. I'm trying to keep up with everybody, but it's a lot harder than you think it is. But I'll get there eventually. Thank you very much for joining me today, and until the next time, I will see you on the far side.